the blitzkrieg pop. The pellet in the backseat, the generous steam heat. Proceed it to the backbeat, the blitzkrieg pop. Hey ho, let's go, shoot them in the back now. What they want, I don't know. They're all revved up and ready to go. They're forming in a straight line. They're going through a tight one. The kids are losing their minds. The blitzkrieg pop.
Woo! Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Fire Program. I'm your host, Joe Nierman, aka Good Lawgic. Hope you had a good weekend. I know. It's been a minute since I've been here, and I even have a short work week this week because, in case you missed it, on Friday, I'm scheduled, I'm slated and booked, and I got my bags packed to be heading down to Tim Pool's compound and be debating Mahmoud Khalil and that whole issue there on Tim Pool's culture war. That's going to be this Friday. I believe we're starting 11 a.m. I think he used to be starting at 10 a.m. Now he's starting 11 a.m. But that is slated for later this week. That means I'm not going to be able to be here on Thursday because I'm going to be traveling. I'll probably do a locals that night. I'm definitely looking at that for a locals night. Definitely locals, but I can't do like sharing screens and stuff like that. So I don't expect to be doing a show because I'll be on location and being ready to be there. So I have a short work week, which makes me feel all the guiltier, which is why I have a goal up there for tonight because I have so much to cover. The goal, in case you're wondering, is I was putting in the banner down below. If we hit 20 or more yellow or higher super chats, which that's very doable, definitely happens, not every night, but it definitely happens. 20 or more. If we had 20 or more, I will be doing a double show tonight. I have so much material. I have like a folder of links that I don't plan on using tonight of different stories that I want to cover, of corruption and different things that I'm probably never going to end up covering unless I end up having a double show tonight. So if we hit our goal, great. If not, that's okay. That's no judgment. No, it's me. It's me. There's no judgment. So, but I really have a whole second show to do if we hit our goal. So who knows? That's why I throw it out there at the beginning. If we get there, we get there. If not, that's just the way. That's what God wanted. That's God's call, not mine. So anyhow, we're good to go. I have a lot to cover. Even in our first show. Should I tell you what would be in the second show if we manage to get there? Like sort of sweeten that pot a little bit there. Yeah, I'll sweeten that pot. Yeah, so I have a dirty Democrat. I have stuff on Canada's healthcare. I've got one of the coolest stories I've ever heard about Donald Trump. A hilarious rant from Stephen A. Smith, Jasmine Crockett. I just have it's like a lot of stuff about Trump's legal strategies. There's a lot. There's just a lot, and I'm not going to have time. Stuff about that Judge Boasberg. There's a lot that I'm not getting to tonight unless I end up having a double show, which I'm hopeful. I think we can do it. I think you and me together I think we can do it. I think we can. That's all part of the second show. The first show though, I want to just start off by just sharing, in case you didn't see that clip before in its beauty and its entirety. You're wondering where our intro came from. It came from an incident on the Manhattan, on the New York subway line, where a crazy leftist just got so triggered from a MAGA hat that it was hilarious, and that made the rounds. But what else do I have for you tonight? Well, I definitely want to talk to you about the cola wars. Tied into the cola wars is this question as to whether or not right-wing influencers are covered by SNAP. Before that story, I'm probably going to talk about, that right-wing influencers are being bought, and allegations that our voices, the voices of people who I would consider peers, are actually paid to express their opinion, which is very disconcerting. Before that, I plan on covering how the Democrats got exposed, Bernie Sanders and AOC in particular, for and proven that their lies about their crowd size were just unbelievable. It's what everyone suspected, but now there's actually forensic evidence to establish that everything we're seeing, that we're like, why would anyone be supporting the Democrats and fighting against Doge? Why would there be all these rallies, thousands of people showing up? It's all been exposed. It's all been exposed for the complete and total climate hoax it is, which it is. So I plan on covering that. In addition, what else do I have for you here? What else do I have? Oh, I definitely want to get to Tim. I definitely want to get to the whole leaked messages and that story where a reporter from the Atlantic was somehow, for reasons with most people started off by assuming that it was by clumsiness of our heads of military, specifically Pete Hegseth and Stephen Miller and J.D. Vance, that they clumsily allowed a reporter to get into or included him in what seemed to be a private group, and allegations that was all set up. I definitely have a lot of thoughts about that, so I plan on getting into that as well. And the other thing is tying back into the whole soda thing, the whole influencer thing, just the moral question of whether or not it makes sense or we should be cutting soda out of government food programs and basically take it off the list of things that it's eligible to be bought for. Finally, we also have the potential death of FEMA. You could see this is a very action-packed show. That's all in the first 2 hours. That's why I'm not going to have time to get to the rest unless we hit our target. And it looks like we're working. You guys are awesome and working towards getting us towards that target quickly. Brian Ogden, you are an amazing group of people. And part of this amazing group of people is this guy right now has hit the 1 year anniversary. Brian, 1 year in the following. Tell me your life isn't like way better already. I won't believe you. See, you're fresh out of it. You've been able to enjoy and experience just the life-altering changes that come as being a member of the following. And now Julie Ferrier is on that road. Welcome to the following, Julie. Welcome aboard. It is just an icebreaker. Deborah Mueller hitting me with the 20. Good job, Deborah. Great job. Thank you so much for the tips. Very kind of you. And promises made and kept. Thank you, Joe. We all need more Lawgic. Like, subscribe, share. I should leave that up there for a while. I should leave that up there because this guy is my biggest PR guy. He's awesome. All right. Let's start off just to share with you a little bit here from that clip of that woman. I know you want to see it. So let me move this down. Down there. What we started the show with off tonight was this. Oh wait, grape sugar-free Kool-Aid popsicles icing. Nice. We're in for a good night tonight. Microscope is working. Okay. All right. This was the clip that has gone viral of that woman losing it before chasing the guy off the train, trying to grab his hat and face planting.
That's why he won. People like you. That's why he won. That is why he won, because of people like you who need to stop it. Let him live.
Bro, just like, girl, chill, bro.
You're okay with that? He's a racist.
How can I be racist, bro?
Obviously
You
racist.
fucking voted for Trump. You're racist. He's a racist.
It's irrefutable logic. If you voted for Trump, you're obviously a racist. There's no. I don't even know why anyone would try arguing that. That's pretty clear.
How can I be racist?
No, he's not. Leave him alone.
Doesn't watch them.
You realize he was a
I'm
Democrat.
highly educated.
Oh, are you? Then why are you wearing that hat?
Everything's going up for I don't know how long. The Democrats been running New York since who knows how long. But then Trump comes in and just fits
Well, this is my stop. I hope you enjoy that.
Well, here's my stop. Here comes the good part. Here's my stop. Oh. Here's my stop, honey.
This is my stop. I hope you enjoy that.
That's why he won.
If you're joining late and you want to see me enjoying that last bit of it played over and over again to some good music, you probably should do it now because there's a really good chance that YouTube is going to require me to mute that if I want to get paid for tonight's stream. So I'm probably going to end up muting, and you'll just see me bopping to Blitzkrieg bop. But I tried finding a cover version, figuring maybe that'll fly under the radar if I find someone's cover version of it. That's so not going to work, but who knows? Who knows? I didn't use the version that came with that video. No, I tried. So there you go. New York's still every bit as crazy as you dreamed it would be. Every bit as crazy as you dreamed it would be. Let's get on into our other big stories of tonight. Where are you? All right. One quick thing that I just wanted to cover for you, in case you thought Doge is resting, on their laurels. They're very, very, very involved, despite litigation trying to keep them silent. This is the newest finding from Doge.
Hey, knock, knock. Nobody's home. Look at this. Got this big, beautiful area where employees are supposed to work. Nobody's
No one
here.
home.
So we're in the second headquarters at Freddie Mac. We were just in the other building. There was nobody there for miles and miles and miles. Look at these desks. They're clean. We've got a cafeteria, again, that's completely vacant. You've got food that's being prepared. The staff.
They stocked the cafeteria. There's nobody there, but the cafeteria doesn't get paid unless they're cooking food for nobody.
that makes the food is here 5 days a week, but the people who work in this building or should work in this building aren't here 5 days a week. 2,900 people that were supposed to work in the building. Turns out only 49 were showing up full time.
49 out of 2,900. Wow. So basically 50, 1 in 60 people showing up virtually.
On a
Wait,
5 day.
no, slow it down. 2,900 people. How many showed up?
On average, the highest that we saw on a 5 day work week was 49 people. Spending on that one building, just to point this out, $57 million a year
And your lease payment?
in lease payments.
$57 million for those 49 people to show up to work. God, we needed Doge so badly. We needed it so badly. So badly. It's just unbelievable. I got one more Doge thing. Let me see if I can find it real quick because I sort of moved it into my show later tabs. But while I'm talking about Doge, let me see if I can dig that tab up. Yeah, well, that's not it. Or maybe I'll dig it up. Yeah, this is it. One more Doge. While we're talking about Doge and the phenomenal work that Elon and his cohorts are doing, we had this story right here.
Trump and Elon have found another rogue government agency with zero accountability to the fucking government. Just like USAID. This one called USIP, U.S. Institute of Peace. What were they doing?
U.S. Institute of Peace. What the hell is this? How many of these agencies are there?
roaming around the world, evidently exerting influence over foreign countries, except they had no fiscal oversight, no congressional oversight. No one even knows who fucking hired these people. 300 employees with the budget of hundreds of millions of dollars. So Friday, Trump sends what I can only assume they say government employees. I'm guessing it's Doge officials. And they were prevented from entering the building by a private security force.
Nice. Nice. Wait, so a private security force that USIP had was keeping Trump out.
Right? So Trump fires the entire board and he sends them all back on Monday. Monday, Doge people show up with FBI agents. And once again, the private security team refuses to allow them in. And the president of USIP calls the cops. DC police show up, they side with Trump and are like, no, you got to let him in. So they get in there, they remove the president of USIP. Trump replaces him with a dude named Kenneth Jackson. And they get in there, and what they're going to find, Lord only knows. Hundreds of millions of dollars in a budget, and this USIP has had zero fiscal oversight, zero congressional oversight. No one in there has ever been elected. This is what we voted for, people. Our government has been completely out of control and run by, you have unelected people exerting foreign influence? In what regards? To what policy? Like, this is fucking insane. This is fucking insane. How many more of these government institutions are they going to find that are just running around with absolutely no one fucking giving any amount of oversight?
I have the exact same question.
There's plenty more to find.
You know, they said the goal was to find $1 trillion in waste. I think they can find 2. I think they can find $2 trillion in waste. You know how they could, like, you know what Trump should do? You know what he should do? He should say, each year, the cuts that we make, he said, it'll give a one-time payment of 10% of all of Doge's savings to America. That's what you should do. This is what I'm going to do. 10%. By the end of the year, we'll all be getting checks for thousands of dollars. 10% of the savings, I'm going to do a kickback to the people. And you have to look at it, that would only be a one-time payment that he'd be giving us, but it would be an annual savings that we would have. 10%. You think that how many people would be showing up at those stupid rallies complaining about the money that he'd be kicking back to us? That would be awesome. That would be awesome. Just 10%. You know, we need to cut our budget. We need to cut our budget, but like almost like a milestone achievement kind of thing. And this way, we could all, with the entire country, will be sitting there rooting for Doge to slash whatever few yahoos are out there living in their parents' basements will be very excited about the idea of getting a check. So yeah, that's what I think he should do. 10% of Doge savings comes back to you and me. Now, you might say, well, a lot of those yahoos are students, they're not taxpayers, and that's a little bit of an issue. That's a little bit of an issue to figure out. I have to figure out how to apportion it. But just start getting everyone on board with Doge. Just start getting everyone on board with it. The last few holdouts, do you guys think that would work? Drop a comment below. Let me know if you think that would work. I think it definitely could help move the needle a little bit. Move the needle just a teensy bit. Oh my God, Mini Tika. I'm gonna count Rumble Rants too. Okay. Mini Tika hitting me with a 50. Oh my God. How do I a 50? Wow. God bless you. Thank you so much. And DB63 sending me the 20 saying, I rarely catch you live. I made it tonight. Thank you for the interesting and fun info. My pleasure. That's what I'm here. I'm here to update you about what's going on around the world, because I know most people have lives and I don't. So this way I can let you know what's been going on in the world with unbiased, untainted news. And hopefully, even after I finish tonight, you'll still believe in me, because some of my peers have done a lot of damage to the brand. But we're going to talk about those folks. We're going to talk about them. How are you tracking the count of yellows? Well, actually, YouTube enables the channel owner to see how many are there. So far, what I have, just to give you an idea of that, when I come over to the YouTube channel, so, oh no, it didn't start. All right, I'm gonna change this to 15 now because I thought it was supposed to start. I usually have a goal. All right, I made it 15. I made it 15 because I already got I got 5 at least. Let me check out. Let me make sure we're on the same page. I don't want to miss any. Let me make sure I'm not gonna deprive you all. Let me double check that. Be 100% sure. 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 6, including Rumble so far out of 20. So I put 15, but if I see it hits 14, that means we're good. All right. All right. All right. So thank you for alerting me. I thought I hit the goal. I had entered the goal up there, but it's there now. So not a cover, but it sounded like to avoid copyright. I don't know. I don't know if I avoided copyright or not. We'll see. Please share the link, the Ingram one. I will try to. I'll put it in locals. That's the easiest way for me to do that. I'll put the Ingram one in locals. Let me pull that up for you. This one. This one it is. This is the right thing? Yeah, it's the right one. I'll put it in locals. Put it in the chat now. I don't know if this is. Okay. This is Laura Ingram. All right, that's there. Now, good to go. Good to go. Right. Lie to me, lawyer man. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not. We'll talk about it. We're on the same page. Yay, Lily's here. Awesome. We're making Joe great again. Hopefully. Doge checks kind of like Alaskan residents getting oil royalties. Yes, please. I love it. Love it. Bella Stella hit me. Queen of recruitment. Popping back in with 20. Count them 20. 20 new members of the following. Who did you bring to us? Bella. Oh, wait. It's Bella Stella. I should have said the Stella. All right. Look at this. Top off was Joey Boy. Promises made kept. Gifted a membership courtesy of Bella Stella. Dust in the Wind. Gen X Boomer. Sully Bach. Rascal. Frog Club. Katie Bradley. Sherry Ward. Lisa Walters. Alan Sparks. Warren Moffitt, Lady AR62, Michael Ravel, Chef Davis, Dan Nekovsky, John Kamiek, Kmiec, Kamiek, I think so. Debbie, Bama Rose, Gen X, R Flat Earther, and Autobahn, all of them gifted memberships to the following. Welcome to the following, you guys. In case you didn't know this, the following is not at all a type of cult. It's really just a gathering of like-minded individuals who are seeking greater personal growth through community, unity, learning, and thinking. That's all it is. That's all it is. Very innocent. Very innocent. Okay? There's no squirrel mutilations, no spaceships, no tracksuits that are mandatory, no squirrel mutilations, no goat sacrifices, or even throwing virgins into volcanoes or dancing around bonfires in the video Tom while shucking off your clothing. It's in no way at all a cult type of cult. It's just a group, and God bless them. Indeed, God bless them. So welcome aboard, and you should each be giving your gratitude to Queen of Recruitment Bella Stella for very generous gift to you all. Fem Natal says, how many yells do we have left? I'm expecting a 4-hour show tonight. Might be having. I said an extra 90 minutes, so, but it'll probably end up being 4 hours by the time we're done. We could get bigger kickbacks if Trump only cut a check to the 77 million people who voted for him. We're the ones who did the work after all. Fair enough. We would get a bigger check. But the idea is you want to sort of bring people over to the idea of saving. Bring them over. Drag them over there. Make it part of the culture. Just breed that stuff. Breed it. It's up here. My God, that's not the way it's supposed to look. That's just not right. Lord Daddy, yes, we get oil royalties. Pam Ronning over here. There's our Alaskan native, one of the 9 people living in Alaska. And I feel like I have like 11% of the Alaskan audience. I know it's more than 9 people. I know it's probably 14 at least. Probably 14 at least. God bless each and every one of you. I feel bad. You gotta get the other 13, the other 13 Aleutians on board to get rid of Lisa Murkowski. But I'm not one to talk because my senators are Andy Kim and Tim Booker. Yeah, but Lisa Murkowski, once you're so far right, might as well get rid of her, right? I mean, we don't need none of that. We don't need none of that. All right. Let's get on with it. We got more to cover. I got a lot more to cover. I told you all that the Democrats lied. Democrats lied about their crowd. We were hearing from AOC. In case you missed it, last week AOC and Bernie Sanders were in Las Vegas complaining about Trump to a purported crowd of 34,000. Now, while the numbers were actually probably around 30,000 or so, this was this was about as organic as styrofoam. There was, and how do we know this? How do we know that this was not an organic crowd, that this is a paid crowd? This is a crowd which is brought in here. What is the evidence we have this? We've thought this for so long. We looked at the people standing outside the airplane of Kamala coming down the airplane, and there's thousands of people there. And we're like, that cannot be real. Nobody really cares about this woman. We didn't believe it. It's like, oh, look at all the excitement here. I mean, I was able to understand how you would have, like, you know, if you have some sort of band that's a pop culture band, that even though it wouldn't necessarily be appealing to my taste, that to certain Democrats or certain wings of the Democratic Party, that certain certain bands that they were trotting on out there were considered an attraction that they would like to come to, like what they were hoping would be a free show. Even though Beyonce basically said, no, I'm not doing that. But, you know, that they were, some of them did perform. And the idea was you sort of figured, okay, they can rake in tens of thousands if they basically have some celebrity. I mean, I shouldn't even put air quotes around that. I guess they are technically celebrities. I guess performing is a better way of putting it. Singing and twerking and do whatever other stuff they did with names that I honestly don't know and don't care to know. And that's okay. But I can understand how that's going to draw people in. That's my point. I can understand how it's going to draw people in. How are you drawing thousands down to an airport where a plane's touching down, or to some gymnasium? Like, it was hard to understand. The answer has now become clear. Forensic evidence. Nothing better than forensic evidence. Breaking GPS data reveals Bernie AOC turnout was not organic. 84% of the devices present at the Bernie AOC rally in Denver attended 9 or more Kamala Harris rallies. How many Kamala Harris rallies can someone go to? Antifa, BLM, pro-Hamas, and pro-Palestinian protests. Oh my God. 31% of devices had attended over 20. Over 20. It's the same idiots at every one of these things. There were 20,189 devices, still a large crowd, but not even close to the 30,000 quoted in Denver newspapers, nor the 34,000. And 84% of the device present had attended 9 or more rallies. For more insight into what data we also look at, in addition to GPS location data, would be demographic and psychographic data using over 6,000 different databases like the Bureau of Labor Statistics, Pew Research Center, market research, firms like YouGov, Experience, specialized tools in ESR, and all this other stuff. That's how they get their info. Demographic data includes basic characteristics like age, gender, income, education level, occupation, marital status. This is what Tony Segura was showing out there. Psychographic data dives deeper into people's lifestyles, values, attitudes, interests, personality traits, social class, activities, and how they make purchasing decisions. When we cross-pollinate each device with other devices regularly within close proximity to the target device, we're able to build a detailed profile for each target. 90% of those in the above 84% were likely working with one of these 5 groups, and is the reason for their presence. So they're with these groups: Disruption Project, legal status unclear, likely operating legally, Rise and Resist, 501c4 nonprofit, Indivisible Project, Troublemakers, legal status is for-profit, and Democratic Socialists of America, 501c4. 90% of them are part of these groups. So they're traveling well. They're traveling well. But this is anything. It's the same idiots at every one of these rallies. They just have tens of thousands of these idiots who are just running from one place to another, to another, to another, to make it seem as if, oh, look, there's so much support in Las Vegas. Oh, look, there's so much support in St. Paul or whatever other town they decide they want to show up in. But it's not actually real, as this guy here helps.
Explaining to do. Breaking news, Bernie Sanders wrecks himself. Here's what happened. Bernie Sanders and AOC had an event, and then he shared this. The video speaks for himself. 34,000 people out in Denver, the largest political rally there since 2008. The message is clear. No to authoritarianism, no to oligarchy, and no to Trumpism.
How does that make any sense?
We are ready to fight back. Now it's on to Tucson. All right, so that's what he posts.
On to Tucson.
But guess what? There is a company that can triangulate cell phones and see who they are and where they are and what's going on. And here's the actual facts. The GPS data reveals that Bernie and AOC's turnout was not organic. Make sure you give this a heart. Make sure you comment. We got to make sure this goes viral. 84% of the devices present at the Bernie and AOC rally in Denver attended 9 or more Kamala Harris rallies.
Yeah, so we got all this. We got all this. I was torn between whether I wanted to tell over the story myself or let him do it. I think I did it better. No offense. No offense. Seems like a nice enough guy. What's his name, that guy? I don't know who that is. Seth Remus. I guess that's his name, Seth Remus. I don't know these people. I don't know these people. I don't know these people. And that brings me to our next. So that's exposing the crap on the left, which I promised I was going to expose the crap on the left. And that was the exposure that came out this weekend. But there's also some crap going on the right. And this is something that is important for you to be aware of, because I'm sure while many of you here are loyal viewers who are here on a regular basis, some of you might be sifting in, sifting out, coming in, coming out. And that's totally fine. We welcome all new people. I understand not everyone can be here every day. I get it. And even if you are here every day, you probably follow other people who are sharing content along the lines of what I'm sharing. So it's very likely that you're following some people here who got exposed. Some people who got exposed by Nick Sorter specifically. Nick Sorter is the one doing the exposing. He's not the one who was exposed, to be clear. And what was the exposure that we got here? Influenceable, that's a company. The company cutting big checks to influencers on behalf of Big Soda. Over the past 48 hours, several large, supposedly MAGA-aligned influencers posted almost identical talking points fed to them, convincing you that MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, was out of line for not wanting to soda purchases with food stamps. So, whole bunch of folks saying, where's MAHA get off and trying to stop spending money on soda? That doesn't seem very American. That doesn't seem very American. Some even slimily invoked President Trump as an emotional manipulation tactic, referring to his Diet Coke button. Because everyone, Donald, in case you're unfamiliar with the Diet Coke button, supposedly he has in the Oval Office a button that when he presses that button, one of his interns knows to walk in bringing him a Diet Coke. So the question is, which by the way, that would be such a great ad for Diet Coke, don't you think? Like just someone like pouring, you see someone like in some young 20s person, they would probably use some pretty girl, let's face it. That's just sorry guys, that's just the reality. And like just pouring, just like you see pouring like a cold Diet Coke, and then like walking in and carrying it. You don't know during the beginning of the commercial, and then you see that she's handing it to Donald Trump, and you hear him say, "Thanks, I need my Diet Coke." Someone like, I think that'd be great. They'd probably be afraid of being aligned with Donald Trump. I think that'd be a great ad. Anyway, the point is, getting back here. So some of them were invoking Donald Trump, and not a single one of them disclosed they were paid for these posts, which led readers to believe a general soda ban was in the works. Who are these people? I'm going to tell you right now. I follow some of these people. One of them he had was Clown World. Another was Eric Dougherty. Another was Not Jerome Powell. And another was Ian Miles Chung. Let's see if we can get this let's make this a little bigger. What did they write? Clown World wrote, the government wants to block soda purchases for Americans on SNAP. Remember when New York City tried this and it completely backfired? President Trump proudly had a Diet Coke button in the Oval Office. This is ridiculous government overreach. Let people decide for themselves. Eric Dougherty. We cannot allow Make America Healthy grand messaging to be used to force needy Americans into not buying certain things. Some official in D.C. are working on trying to prevent Americans on SNAP from using those benefits to purchase any soda. Remember when New York City Democrats tried to prevent people from buying and consuming soda? It backfired big time. See the same point here. New York City completely backfired. New York City completely backfired. President Trump literally has a Diet Coke button in his Oval Office. Same thing here. Let people decide for themselves. Anyone can consume soda and be perfectly fine in moderation, unless we're going to ban every food with sugar in it for SNAP Americans. Not Jerome Powell, who I'd never heard of before this, I'm not going to kid you, says government overreach strikes again. This time it's soda's turn. They want to restrict soda purchases through SNAP this time. This is an unwarranted attempt by the government to dictate what Americans can or cannot consume, which is an overextension of government power and a violation of personal choice. Even President Trump likes to drink his Diet Coke on a daily basis. We have to stop regulating what Americans can or cannot do. Ian Miles Chung, a new war on soda has begun, targeting purchases made through SNAP. I don't believe it's the government's role to decide what people should or shouldn't eat. The last time the U.S. government dove deep into dietary guidance, the whole world ended up with a questionable food pyramid. It also championed the COVID-19 vaccine as safe and effective. Promoting better health for Americans is a reasonable idea, but not when it involves curbing Diet Coke purchases. Restricting soda through SNAP is an unnecessary move by the government to control consumption, overstepping its authority, infringing on individual liberty. Yikes. I need to do a close-up of like, yikes. That is not a good look. That is not a good look at all. That helped a lot with the close-up, right? You knew how serious that moment was. I gotta do the yikes. I have to do yikes more. I'm feeling the yikes. I'm really liking the yikes. I'm gonna have to watch on repeat later. I'm at 39 minutes in. I'm gonna have to watch and see how much I like the yikes moment. These influencers were given a couple of templates to use by Influenceable, with one of those templates specifically telling them to mention Trump's Diet Coke habits. This was done to invoke an emotional response from loyal Trump supporters, making them feel as if banning soda from SNAP would be anti-Trump. This is an incredibly dirty tactic meant to manipulate loyal followers. It's meant to manipulate you. Let's face it. The type of person who's likely watching this show is likely to be following those influencers. It was meant to influence you into saying, hey, I don't want our government dictating what people can drink, what people cannot drink. That sounds like crap. Didn't Trump have his own Diet Coke button? Why shouldn't people be able to buy Coke with it? Influencers were texted by Influenceable telling them to help push back against government overreach and told them to pay between several hundred and even 1,000 plus for each post. Attempt to turn MAGA folks against RFK Jr. and Maha. Look at this post. Help push back against government overreach and defend personal choice. Efforts to restrict soda purchases through food aid programs are a clear example of bureaucratic overreach that unfairly targets consumer freedom. The way they operate is simple. They develop comfy relationships with lobbying firms, are potentially, and they give examples of possibly Ameribev and Car Choice, who are funded handsomely by massive corporations such as Coca-Cola and Pepsi. They also develop relationships with influencers such as the ones listed above and pay them to push these lobbying groups' talking points. There's a middleman that makes a hell of a lot, essentially selling out our country. Wow. 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 Every influencer contacted by Influenceable met the same criteria, supposedly MAGA aligned. So they specifically were going after getting MAGA to turn against this Maha agenda. This was all meant to manipulate their followers, which trust them for news and opinions, into siding with Big Soda. A grand total of 0 of them disclosed they were paid to push on proposed regulations. There was another template, too, specifically pushing a CPAC link, calling this a war on soda. This link was included in the outline provided by Influenceable. To me, this is a really big story. And when there's dirty laundry on the right, I think it's my duty to call it to your attention. This happened when we deal with Lauren Chen and all the questions as to whether or not, she was basically being used by Russia, and that story that broke then. And if you guys, this is Chad Prather. I think I might follow Chad Prather. Do I follow him? It's not. How much overreach can you handle? Influenceable does this a lot, pushing sketchy leftist-aligned ads in the past. They also pay people to routinely push candidates in movies, too. This is a much more innocent example, and I'm sure you've seen some of these posts. This gives you a visual from the start. What this says, let's pull this up a little bit bigger here so you all can read along with me. This is the new Influenceable phone number. Please label it as Influenceable in your contacts and pin it. Influenceable is launching a campaign for the movie Sound of Freedom. Our goal is to bring massive awareness to the cause of child trafficking and drive people to watch the film. 2 videos posted to IG, TikTok, Twitter, $100 and $1 for every 1,000 views, which you have to realize some of these people get like millions of views. So they know that could be tens of thousands of dollars, right? It's that dollar for 1,000 views to most of us sounds, insanely high. But some of these people, as soon as they send out a tweet, can get hundreds of thousands of views. Timeline today, July 4th and July 5th. Watch film, talk about child trafficking, give you a review, which your review is obviously, it's going to be very supportive. So much deception going on here. So much deception. When I get paid to shill for people you know nothing about, Influenceable is the perfect fit for you. Blank is still under attack by the Republican establishment and Democrats. As a patriot and spent his career fighting for American first values and law and order. Luckily, some patriots, such as Riley Gaines, refused to sell out to Big Soda, turned down the offer, and called the situation out. She tweeted out, they offered to pay me to post a big fat heck no. This is just the beginning. Prepare for part 2 of this story where we find out more about the shady PR firm known as Influenceable. And he thanks these people who were part of the exposure. Wow. Now, I will say this. Some people, specifically, I showed you 4 people at the top there, right? 4 people I showed you were Clown World, Eric Dougherty, not Jerome Powell, which is a life R hat, and Ian Miles Chung. I will tell you that when this story broke, what's his face? Where is it? Is it here? Clown World came out first, and he's like, I made a post and deleted it within the first hour. I withdrew from the campaign entirely and removed my post. I haven't received a single penny from Big Soda or anyone else for this, which Nick compliments and says, I truly respect the fact that you were first to delete your post, and I've been a fan of your account for a long time. Thank you for not accepting the check. I do believe some influencers were intentionally misled by Influenceable, and I think that's very possible. Scott Adams complaining that no one ever offered to bribe him. What am I doing wrong? Seth Dillon said that he was contacting the pitch was you'll get paid to post about things you post about anyway. And I'll tell you this. I personally, roughly a month ago or so, someone made an offer to me along the lines of what they have here. I got an offer. I don't remember it being from Influenceable per se. Someone made me an offer, and I was always like, I'm not listening to someone's opinion on what's right, what's wrong. That's definitely not happening. My biggest concern was when I basically asked who's paying, who's sponsoring this, because I wanted to know first and foremost that literally I'm not working for Russia. You know, that's not a good look. That's never a good look. When the checks are signed by Putin, that's never a good look. But I only was approached only once, and I asked them I said, I need to know a lot more. First and foremost, who's paying for this? And they never responded. So that's the one time I was like, finally someone's looking to sponsor me. Finally someone's looking to come out and basically, you know, kick in here, sponsor the show, aside from you amazing, awesome supporters who are amazing in your support. And I mean that sincerely. But yeah, I was like, finally, some like, you know, I'm getting corporate sponsorships. That's a nice change. I asked one question, one question. Who's paying for this? Beep. You're gone. Adios. I was like, damn it. I have gotten a couple of offers. But for one reason or another, they never panned out. None of them panned out. None of them ever panned out. They were just, nothing was happening. But do have a new sponsor. My sponsors are small time, not really as big time corporate. This is a good time for me to bring to you tonight's sponsor. Yes, a new sponsor tonight. Our new sponsor tonight is indeed Donut Prince. Donut Prince wants to remind you, don't get divorced, get a donut.
How are all marriages in divorce?
Because they not eating the donuts.
True.
Don't get a divorce, get a donut. Cinnamon twist, cinnamon beer claw, blueberry muffin, croissant, glazed twist, glazed.
So many people getting divorced today. They just need to go down to Prince's Donut and get a donut.
Donut, rainbow sprinkle donut.
Baby, I love it when you talk donut.
That's a skeptic.
Hey, get a room.
Get a donut.
This is a little too intimate. She's a little too close.
I had to call my wife. I love her so much.
If you married has a hole in it, fill it with a donut.
Don't get divorced, get the donut.
Cinnamon crumb donut, chocolate raised donut, old-fashioned buttermilk donut, chocolate buttercream filling, banana.
Ah, it's getting hot in here.
We are open 23/7.
We only close from 1 a.m. to 2 a.m.
Do I have to tell you what's going to happen during that hour?
Making donuts.
Get the donut print.
Burbank, California.
71 West Olive Avenue, Burbank,
There you go.
California 91506. Don't get the divorce, get the donut.
So I'd like to, the following program would like to remind you that divorce is very expensive. A donut is much cheaper. Don't get a divorce. Get a donut. Hopefully RFK Jr. doesn't punish me for running that ad. Hopefully. Bam saying, you're right, Joe. Only 14 people in Alaska, but only 3 of us ski, so we have a great mountain all to ourselves. No doubt. Bunch of deadheads. Thank you, Brian. Thank you times 2. This is a different one. There you go. Lauren saying, why am I unable to give or accept memberships? I want to give, but there's no option anymore. There should be. We had some people gifting earlier. We had a Queen of Recruitment came in here and she gifted, so I don't know. Emails Chong isn't even an American. He lives in Romania. I thought he lived in like Thailand. He lives in Romania? He definitely is not American. It's very weird how much that guy has gotten. I'm not a big fan. Let's just put it. I'm not a big fan of that guy. Joe loves baseball. This is true. I used to love baseball. I'm thinking about getting back into it now. I'm not going to kid you. With opening day coming, I'm really thinking about getting into it again this year. It's very hard with my schedule because I basically start my show like in the 9th inning. So it's very hard with my schedule to really get into baseball, but it's a habit that I used to have. I used to follow religiously. I kind of miss a little bit. I'm not going to kid you. H Coffee. I became extra wary of MAGA influencer accounts after some said giving preferential hiring to Americans was like DEI for Americans during the H-1B hiring discussion around Christmas. Yeah, that's pretty weird. That's pretty weird take. You can't buy cigs and beer either, okay, with no candy and soda. True. Why is it only Coke? There's also Pepsi, root beer. All of them would be banned under the soda ban. They made the big deal because Diet Coke is linked so neatly to Donald Trump. That's why. Daddy gets all Diet Coke and McDonald's he wants. This is true. He really does. I remember watching a scene from a movie. I'm trying to remember who it was. Where, what's that guy? I think it was John Hurt. Played the president of the United States. One of you is going to know for sure. And in the movie, the president is having some candid conversation on the Rose Garden with someone late at night. I think it was John Hurt. He's like, one of the best perks about being president of the United States is I can get any food I want, anytime I want. My favorite is shark sandwich. That's something to that effect. I'm sure one of you is going to find that shark sandwich line. And I wondered if it was true. I'm not sure if it's true. I'm very curious if it's true. It would make sense, I guess, but I don't want to ask Grok because I don't trust Grok on that one. You're not doing the suggestion I made weeks ago properly. You should do 60 minutes of the second show here. Then the last 30 minutes on locals exclusively to draw more people. There's a kazoo cover of BK Pop. Okay. Maybe I should try looking for kazoo covers from now on. That's not a bad call. SNAP isn't a right, it's a benefit for necessities for those struggling. There have always been limits like alcohol and cigarettes. When living on someone else's dime, you have limitations. We're going to get into that discussion very shortly. Thank God! I had no idea I was being paid to be a propagandist. I was shocked to learn there was gambling. Have you gotten offers? I've never gotten an offer. I've never gotten the only offer I ever got. I chased them away by asking a very loaded question of who's paying for this. I want to know the name of the company that's paying for this. I wanted to be able to research them and like look into it. And it mostly was a fear. And I also figured I was going to give like a whole list of what I would, you know, under what circumstances I would work with someone if I was influenced, if I was going to be doing influencing. But it's a if so, and here's an interesting question I want each of you to consider, okay? Do you think that there's something wrong with someone being paid to give their opinion that they already had? John has a certain opinion. And someone comes along and says, I want you to express that opinion and I'll pay you $10,000. Do you think that now he's got a big following? John's got a big following. And the question is, do you think there's something wrong that unless he discloses that he got compensated for it, that he's deceiving his audience? If it's genuinely, everything that he writes in there is genuinely his opinion, do you think that he is deceiving his audience by failing to disclose that he got paid? It's a very interesting ethical and moral question. And I can hear an argument both ways. One is the argument saying that it's totally okay is he's literally not writing a single word that he wouldn't otherwise be writing. Perhaps the extra that he's writing is that he might not have covered that topic at all. But the opinion where they want him to land is exactly where he is anyway. Then the question is, has money influenced his opinion that now that became his opinion as opposed to it actually being unfettered by the lure of a paycheck? It's an interesting dilemma, which frankly, like as I pointed out, I've never had that dilemma yet because the one time someone approached me, they refused to tell me who was paying them, and I was like, well, I'm not doing that. That's suicide. But I mean, so someone that, you know, imagine you found out that, you know, Tim Pool was being paid by some agency which really wants to promote getting rid of illegal aliens. So they compensate him. Is that something that you think he should be obligated to publicize? And I'm not making that allegation against Tim Pool. I mean, I just picked his name out because I got Tim Pool in the brain this week. But I'm saying is any influencer you follow, Brick Suits, Ben Shapiro, whoever, it doesn't matter. If they're paid to say something they already believe anyway, do you think there's something wrong with that? And a part of me is saying, well, people get paid to do commercials all the time. But the difference is, you know, it's a commercial. If you see a 30-second ad and you see some sportscaster or celebrity or, you know, I guess some talk show hosts who you follow in that commercial. So there, the difference is obviously that most people are aware that it's a commercial. I don't know. I really want to think on this one. Joe busy looking in the mouths of grift horses. No joke. Check him behind. How are those teeth? Drink more Coke, comrade. Putina made me say this. This is true. First the nail joints, then the donut places. Wish they become cobblers. Look. Let me tell you something. You got to find your sponsors wherever you can find them. So the following will not be bribed. We grow by sacrificing goats to the gods. No, there's okay. Look, it was a one-time thing. It was a one-time thing. It was something that we only found out about afterwards. It was not something that was ever sanctioned. And while it was condoned after the fact, the reality is it's not something that's part of the following. All hail, dear leader, whomever that is. May our tracksuits forever provide warmth and prosperous runnings in these trying times. Indeed. A yellow for the cause. Nice. I don't know as much an audio term in the UK. Is it? Is that what it is? Is that what it is? Is that what it is? It doesn't land as well here. Food stamps is to keep you alive. You have no money, you can use food stamps to buy hot food, like that rotisserie chicken in the grocery store. Why pay for soda if not the chicken? Said as a real cokeaholic. Yeah. You see race car drivers, they sell out every square inch of their cars. See patches. Oh my god. I would so love that. Would be so awesome. Oh, that would be so awesome. That's what I need to do. I need to sell patch space on my jacket, on my shoulders. Sell patch space on my shoulders. Oh my god. Oh my god. Why this? You guys are genius. You're genius. Become the race car, Joe. Become the race car. I love it. I love it. Oh my god. If you have T-Mobile, they're giving every customer a free year of MLB starting Tuesday. Some blackouts apply. Love it. And my Yankees. Really? I don't have T-Mobile. I don't have it. Greetings to Louisiana. An interesting case you might want to look into. Foote versus Ludlow. School district crazy case. Enough said. Thank you so much. And I'm going to give you the horn, St. John. I'll make a little note here. Foote versus Ludlow. Town of Ludlow. Case involves actions taken by teachers and staff to support the well-being of two students, including using students' requested names. Oh, this is a trans case, isn't this? Yeah, this is a trans case. I see what's going on here. I see what's happening here. Brondo, it's got what plants crave. It's got what plants crave. I am paid by sponsors. I happen to believe in the products by explicitly label the plugs as sponsorship. It's not hidden. That's true. I've seen him promote CCW, which is an agency, and he always says, I am paid by them, but I'm also a customer. That's true. He is. And I think it's legal, as I recall. It's legal insurance. Part of their services is legal insurance people who are involved in a self-defense shooting. So, yeah, you might want to check it out. Check it out. Go to his channel. You'll find it. Click the link. I'm sure there's a link there you can click. But every time he mentions it, he always says, I am paid to sponsor to promote them, but they're the only product I would use. It's like their other competitors are the only ones I would use. So that's true. Yeah. Only options available here are super stickers or super chats. Other choices are gone. Other channels have membership options. I don't know why that is, Lauren, because that must be on your device that you're trying to use. Because I've gotten earlier in this show, Bella Stella sent out 20 super chats, gifted 20 super chats. So it has to be your device. That's the only explanation I can have. I'll try to figure out if I can put it in the description. Maybe I can do that. There's a way to get the link. There's a link that you can press if you want a gift, and I should be able to put that in my description. So this way, if you would scroll down to description, I'll have a thing that says to gift memberships, and then you can just click that link. I'll try to dig that up. I'll try. Let me do a quick look for you. Yeah. She sent me 2 super chats on this, so she seems frustrated. If I can help end your frustration. Let's see if I can do it. Yeah, I'm very curious now. Very curious. If I go to my chat here. Oh my. I don't know how to share this link. I don't know how to share this link. I don't know. I have the link here, my hard drive. So, all right. Fun fact: unintended consequences of C-19 was mass migrations away from the coast to lower cost areas that estimate to shift 12 electoral votes red. You think that's because it's 19, or you think that's because of just the left sucks, and all the leftist states are on the coasts? I don't know. Hi, Joe. Watching on my birthday with my nice rare birthday ribeye steak in my belly. Ate the whole thing. This is for you. I want to wish you a very, very happy birthday, old school. Thank you. I'm very, very flattered that you're spending your birthday with me. I hope I can make it entertaining and enjoyable for you, and I hope that that God gifts you with many more years of perfect health, wealth, prosperity, and personal growth. God bless you, brother. As a member of the following, you're definitely well on your way. Did you think Elon should buy Planned Parenthood? They would just open up another one. He would have to find some way to stop them from like reopening for like 5 years. Joe, my efforts helping meet your goal. Thank you, Terry. You're awesome. God bless you. And in fact, we hit our goal. Look at that, John Mosley. God bless you. God bless you indeed. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Looks like I'm going to be doing a double show tonight. That's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling a 3.5 hour show tonight. Great job. This is for all of you guys. Great job. Great job indeed. Buxton Browncoat says, I got laid off. Sorry about that. No more soda or snacks. It's just reality. Unrelated. I'm looking for a new job. If anyone has remote suggestions, same name all over. Buxton Browncoat? That's not good. I don't believe that. I wish you the best of luck in finding a new place soon. The C-19 EV ship comes from reapportionment in 2030. Well, that's encouraging. That's encouraging. Yeah, sap away that power, the electoral power of these leftists. Okay, so question. Let's talk about this soda debate. It's a lot of different opinions. A lot of different opinions. Do you think it's right? And if you're watching afterwards, you can drop a comment down below. That only helps the algorithm. And I do try to check the comments. I usually do. do you think that that we should be restricting SNAP, which is basically food welfare, from being able to be used to purchase soda? Yes or no? Now, those paid influencers were all basically saying, no, we should not be restricting them, give them freedom, don't tell people what they can buy and what they can't buy. I think that I'm trying to remember this video that I pulled up here. I'm going to check out the beginning of this and see if this is the right one that I wanted.
So a week or two ago, the federal government had decided that people that receive SNAP benefits should no longer be able to buy things like soda, right? And it caused this whole big debate, and it is what it is. Over the weekend, some more conservative leaning, I guess, influencers started posting stuff like this on their X, using a lot of basically the same wording in different ways, but basically saying we cannot allow "Make America Healthy Again" message to be used.
Is that what this is all about? Is this about the influenceable or about the actual topic? Yeah, that's what it's about. All right, I already covered this. I don't need to review that, but I want to actually get into the nitty gritty of this discussion. I apologize for that. I had saved a whole bunch of chats. A lot of people are obviously outraged by that, and they should be. The realization that soda companies were paying influencers to post protesting the proposed removal of soda junk food from SNAP programs is both despicable and not surprising at all. The bad news is that this has been happening for a long time. The good news is now we know. The question is, though, how do you know? How do we know who the good people are versus the bad people, whose opinions are viable? I mean, we saw Eric Dougherty, Clown World claims that he wasn't getting, that he retracted it before he can get paid. Within an hour of when he posted it. It's a little bit disconcerting to think that people who were following may be surreptitiously having their opinions bought and paid for. It's really the most important reminder to take from this is it doesn't matter who's talking to you. It doesn't matter whether it's someone you've been watching for 10 minutes and you saw something you liked from them, or someone you've been watching for 10 years. Never let go of your brain. Never stop considering alternative perspectives. It doesn't matter who. It could be me saying it to you, any person you watch. You should always feel free to question the opinions that you're hearing, the legitimacy of them, the consistency, and try and see whether or not this is something that is consistent with what they've been saying or not. And this was particularly sneaky because couching their argument as freedom of choice does sound like a MAGA type of thing. It does sound consistent with that. Here's one person who I don't think is paid at all. I don't think, and I'm talking specifically someone who's a friend of mine and a former guest. I haven't asked, I haven't spoken to him in a long time, but I'm talking about Sean Fitzgerald, actual justice warrior. He was responding. Tim Pool said EBT, SNAP, and any other welfare recipients should be banned from buying soda. He disagreed. And he said, I don't want to pay for people's bad habits either, but buying into the premise that government money, government control is exactly the kind of thing the right used to worry about. Government involvement in healthcare could be used to restrict everyone under this philosophy. So I hear he's supporting the soda position of let them drink soda. And I don't think he's bought and paid for. And the way he couches his argument, meaning I don't think anyone paid him to post this. I don't think Big Soda is paying him. I think that this is his genuine opinion as far as what's a healthy way to approach this and what's not. Certainly the pro RFK position of let's get rid of soda is something that doesn't seem as if there would be any sort of money in that position that Tim Pool's taking here. So there's no reason to assume that someone is being sponsored here. But like what I'm saying is I personally trust Sean, that I think that this is a good faith. He's giving his good faith opinion. And I do think you can make a good faith argument both ways. My personal position on the soda issue, my personal position is why should they be able to buy soda? Sell me on why they should be allowed to buy soda. If the objective is to make America healthy, the analogy I gave on social media was, this is like someone saying, your parents telling you you have to take this girl out on a date. You don't really want to go. And then when you get there, you know, they say you have to take her out for dinner. You take them out for dinner. And then at the end, they're like, I want dessert. Well, that's not part of what I'm compelled to do here. I'm supposed to help keep you alive for the night. That's the job. Giving you dessert so that you feel all nice and yummy about it is not part of the job. And I'll tell you something else, and this may sound a little cold, and I understand that, but here's the reality. The reality is, it's better if people who are indigent are somewhat incentivized to find their way out of their indigence. And if we're giving them, you know, if we're helping provide for their sustenance, which is what SNAP stands for, it's sustainability nutrition. That's the S&N in SNAP. If that's what it's about, supplemental nutrition, that's what the S is, supplemental nutrition, you sort of say to yourself, the nutrition part of this is we're trying to keep people healthy. Imagine if instead of giving them money, we gave them ringdings. Would anyone say, oh yeah, okay, that's you could live on ringdings. You could. So eat all the ringdings you want. We'll give you free ringdings. I mean, how that sounds insane. That sounds crazy. So if you actually care about people who are struggling, you would think that giving them an incentive to say, you know what, if you want to splurge on luxuries, then find a way to get to a place that you don't need SNAP. Now, I guess some people are sort of trapped in their indigence. There's some people who are trapped in their indigence. And I can see an argument, and this is an argument someone made to me on social media, where if someone is older, like they reach a certain age, that perhaps the chances that they're ever going to find their way out of indigence seems incredibly low. So once they reach a certain age, and you know, we can argue about the number, it could be 45, 50, 55, 60. But once they reach a certain age, if they're still getting SNAP at that point in time, it's almost like I can understand saying, yeah, for those people, perhaps, you know, giving them some added luxury on SNAP is somewhat compassionate in very limited quantities. Meaning like a certain percentage of their SNAP dollars per payment cycle would be able to spend on luxury. And in that way, you're sort of recognizing, I guess, the likely futility of their financial prospects. In stark contrast to someone who's 25, 30, 35, where it's like, you know, you sort of want to incentivize people to get off your behind. And it's not purely for us to save our own money. It's not purely because it's Americans are paying for it, which that would be alone enough. That would be enough alone, just because it's not fair to say that you over there have to pay for that guy's luxury. That seems kind of crazy. Like imagine, so you know, we're giving people bags and they're like, it's not Louis Vuitton. You have to buy me a Louis Vuitton bag. You'd be like, what are you, out of your effing mind? You a lunatic? You're not getting no freaking Louis Vuitton. No, I only walk around Louis Vuitton bags. That's obviously a far more extreme type of thing comparing as in contrast from soda to water. But through the extreme, you can better understand how silly it sounds to say, no, you must give the indigent soda. So if you actually look at it and say, okay, look, that's the Louis Vuitton of beverages, which it's not. But, you know, you have to give them only Starbucks Frappuccinos. You'd be like, are you kidding? We have to give them Frappuccino. They must have Frappuccinos. Where's the Frappuccino? Hey, make mine a double extra long shot. No. You see, that sounds insane. When you put it that way, it sounds really insane. So you can understand the concept of saying, hey, maybe that's really not a fair position to put someone in. To put that guy in, that you have to pay for that guy's Frappuccino over there. Sounds kind of insane. It does. On the other hand, it's so that alone would be a reason to say no more of this soda thing. It's crap. We're not giving them ring dings. We're not giving them Frappuccinos. We're helping them survive. That's what the goal is. There's a nobility in helping people survive, helping your brothers survive. And that's what the government has decided. This is a social welfare program which we're going to engage in here, and we're going to help these people keep from starving to death. There's definitely a level of nobility to that. There's a righteousness to it, something that America can be proud of, that we're a country where nobody starves to death. And it's obviously not children or something, far worse, where you're talking about people who are in the care of indigent folks, which would make it all the worse. But the other thing is, someone who's 25 and decides that they're going to live in despair of poverty. And what am I going to do? It's better than having to go to work. More incentivizing them to actually go out, get a job, so that they're not living on essential foods, but can afford the occasional luxury, leads to their own happiness. That is, you cannot be happy by being indolent all day. Any of us, and I've spent a couple of days like this in my life, any of us who ever spent a day just doing nothing, like literally just doing nothing and sitting in squalor. At the end of the day, maybe sitting in very comfortable squalor, but sitting around and just playing video games all day, or just doing nothing work related, hanging out on the internet, or doing whatever else that may have moral turpitude. Doesn't matter. The point is that you're just spending the entire day just frittering away your hours. At the end of the day, you tend to feel awful. You don't feel happy. You just feel ugh. That's part of the human spirit, is that we're happier, and this is a complete blessing from God. And if you're not a creationist, you can say this is part of survival of the fittest. But we are happier as beings when we're engaged in work that feels like it's being productive. So to encourage people to engage in work that is productive, and I understand a lot of people who are on Snap are working. I get that. I understand that. They're just working at very low-paying jobs. I understand that. I'm not questioning their work ethic. I'm simply saying, I'm not saying that everyone who's on Snap is sitting there like a fat cow on a couch all day. I don't believe that to be the case. Probably that's only a relatively smaller percentage. But to the degree there are any humans who are like that, that's a bad thing. And if we can encourage people to try and find a way to actually engage in the American experiment of finding ways to climb up above where you are, so you don't spend your entire life in a job that's subsisting on minimum wage, I think that's a positive thing. I think that's a positive thing for America, at least the Americans themselves who are being forced to do that to find their own happiness. I got into one of the worst critiques I got from my audience. Came about 2.5 years ago or so, when I made this comment, which I still think is true, and I think I'll probably think this the rest of my life. There's a lot of jobs out there, which most minimum wage jobs out there are not meant for someone to make a career out of that. If that's how you're subsisting, is by making a career out of a minimum wage job, which doesn't have any real aspirations of growth, that is to a large degree, that's giving up. The objective should be, some people find themselves in that. But when they talk about something that's a MIC job, so to speak, the objective to a MIC job is to, it's like someone can basically fill in time. A high school, college kid. But not that that's where you're making your career out of, just basically mopping floors. That's not what we should be setting the aspirations. And I understand there are some people out there who someone's got to do the job. There are always new people who are coming along, though, whether they're coming in here legally or illegally, or it's just general expansion of the population and kids getting to an age where that's, they're getting their first job. I don't think that anyone who's doing that for 30 years is having. I mean, just think about what an awful existence that is. It seems so. You look back in their life, and it's just like, I think any one of us would just sort of feel like sympathy. And why should someone have an existence which is like when we look back on the ledger of their life that people look at them with sympathy? Doesn't make any. It just, there's got to be more. There has to be more than that. I know I'm going to get like a lot of hate over this. I get it. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not looking down my nose at any person, whatever their job is. It doesn't affect me. And I don't look down on someone who's forced to struggle in minimum wage and likely killing themselves to get bread on the table. And that's the unfortunate circumstance that far too many people find themselves in. I understand that pain, and I generally sympathize. I'm simply saying that should be something that should be that's never presented as an ideal. That this is an okay way for people to subsist without trying to explore options for genuine growth. And I'm talking on a macro level. Any individual out there, look, there's some people out there, I guess, who are looking to find their growth in other ways. And I certainly think that people who dedicate their lives to chasing money have their own type of sadness. There has to be like a happy middle ground in between there. But if you think I'm I just want to be. I want to reiterate what I said because I want to be 100% clear. I'm not looking down. I feel genuine sympathy, and I'm hoping to help people look upward and just reassess. Is there some way to find some better growth? I think too often we get into a routine that, well, this is what I do, this is what I do, this is what I do, and never pause to think about is this really the healthiest course for the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? It's just sort of actually look beyond the weekend. Look at yourself 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Actually look ahead just so you can find, hopefully, some sort of plan. I got very serious there. I didn't mean to. And I haven't been looking at chat at all. I'm actually a little nervous to look at chat. I'm not going to kid you. I'm a little nervous to look at chat. But if I don't tell you how I feel about things, then why would you bother coming? So I'm giving you my true perspective on it. Barbara's Lesson says, instead of purchasing junk food in the commissary here in Extra, I'll donate it to you, Joe. Thank you so much, Barb. Breck Nichols, no mandatory squirrel sacrifices. Come on, Joe. There are none. FD Man says, I would name my racehorse My Face. Would you now? Guess who? We name you Joe Mater. Thank you, FD Man. Thank you so very, very much. All right. With much trepidation and fear, I'm about to come into the chat, and I know I'm going to get hate. If you agree with me, let me know. If you disagree with me, let me know. That's okay. I'm just telling you what my take is on it. Ellie Font says restricted because in the end, unhealthy eating leads to higher medical bills from poor health. This is true too. And who pays that? And we paying that. Yes, because we're both paying for their health care. Exactly. Must be annoying for a cashier to deal with people trying to buy items not qualified for SNAP. Let them buy their crap so the line is shorter. I can't wait. Are you kidding me? I told Dougherty that he was a huge disappointment as a shill. He posted it was a bad decision. Now I don't trust what to believe from him anymore. It's frustrating. I'm pretty sure I follow him also, Dougherty. Very frustrating. Let me ask, if they won't crack, should taxpayers pay for it? If they want crack. Oh, if they want crack, should taxpayers pay for it? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We wouldn't do that. SNAP array restricts prepaid food, alcohol. Even Representative Master agrees it's tax money, not your money. Tax money, not your money. I don't know what that means. It's tax money, not your money. Some others put Mountain Dew on other soda and baby bottles. That's criminal. That's wrong. Slippery slope, soon trading mouth hugs for RC Cola? What? An Rhode Island snack can be used to purchase Subway sandwiches. Fish do nasty things in water, and I will not drink it. You get filtered. You get filtered. I gotta tell you, most food has like certain percentages of like rat hair in it. I saw this terrifying thing about how bad it can be sometimes. Ugh. God. Insulin is cheap and preventative. Things like seeing a dietitian, nutritionist wearing a CGM, hiring a personal trainer are expensive. Makes no sense. Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you right now, I'm in a diet phase in my life right now. So far, I've lost roughly, I think, 15 pounds, somewhere between 10 and 15. Somewhere between 10 and 15. But I actually plan on getting down to I plan on losing a lot. I've been doing it for about 3 weeks now. Nutritional foods are not feasible on SNAP. It doesn't have to be nutritional, just not poison. There's a difference between getting you can get your local Walmart water, your ShopRite water, and buy gallons and gallons of it. And that's totally fine. Like, I'll tell you right now, I live in New Jersey. Tap water here, it tastes like, as my people, it tastes like Pishwasser. Okay? It tastes like Pishwasser. Like, I couldn't begin to consider drinking it. We got a lot of bottled water. And not even like Poland Spring or Deer Park, like just ShopRite, $1.50 a gallon water. Yo, bro, you're putting yourself down. You're all good, homie. I'm very nervous about I'm trying to encourage people to seek better options. And I know that if I alienate, and I'm definitely not looking down on people. And if they perceive it as me looking down on them, they're going to be tuning me out anyway. So that's why I just wanted to be very clear about where I was coming from. I wasn't trying to embarrass anyone. Certainly. Emily, did you discuss the Hexa thing at all? I plan on it. That's part of what's coming up here. But But we have an extended show, courtesy of your friends who were sitting here and being so amazingly awesome. You can't even get a prescription for a CGM without diabetes diagnosis. Makes no sense. Joe, get my electricity on FYI to fix my car. Oh, I'm glad your car got fixed. I most agree with you. Would people already work around restrictions by buying groceries for others in exchange for cash? That doesn't mean you shouldn't try to make it more difficult. What about cereal? West Virginia just did a ban. See, here's the thing. People look at sugar cereal like it's all the same. People look at sugar cereal like it's all the same. I'm not doing my diet this time the way I did last time. But last time when I was trying to lose weight, I shed off 40 pounds and I was going to the gym a lot. And I started every morning off with like 3 bowls of Golden Crisp, sometimes 4. I would stuff myself on carbs in the morning. That's right, Golden Crisp. It's very tasty. Don't mock me, okay? To this day, I'll tell you right now, very tasty. It didn't have to be Golden Crisp. Even frankly, the off-brand your off-brand stuff is perfectly fine too. People think that's not healthy, but rice is good. Rice is actually filling, as opposed to like things like Kix or honeycombs or alphabets, which are basically the same thing as honeycombs. Those things don't have any. That's not filling you. That's not filling you. It's got grain in it, and corn is not a grain in this context. It's got some kind of grain in it. I'll count rice as a grain, but it's got to be something that's filling you. Anyway, the secret to how that diet worked is after 11 a.m. I wouldn't eat any carbs the rest of the day, and I worked out like an animal. We build. That's what we do. They buy and pour out cheap pop and get money for the cans. Okay. Probably do about canned water too. We get water from glaciers. I still filter because of the use of chlorine fluoride, but it's so good. Yeah. This is Pam bragging about her Alaska. I'll devote time slot to exercise any day. Good. It's a good thing. I haven't started hitting the gym yet, but that's coming soon. Only because I'm missing my MP3 and I really need to work out with music blaring in my head. All right. Let's move along. I got more stories for you. More stories to cover. There's much more to cover here. All right. Is FEMA closing? Is FEMA closing? That's the question. Here is DHS Secretary, Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kirsty Noem, former governor of North Dakota? One of the Dakotas. I think it's North.
I want to thank the Secretary of Defense and the Navy for all of their help and partnership too. We do operations together because their obvious Navy warships are in certain regions, but our cutters are faster and can work together in a partnership that's securing America. So, and we're going to eliminate FEMA. So we've got a lot to do, but
that was a random. Is that the most random thing in the world? It's like I want to congratulate everyone from the Defense Department and what a great job we did here on all those things and on that strike on Yemen. Oh, and we're getting rid of FEMA. Next, it's like what? We're getting rid of FEMA? We're getting rid of FEMA?
It's all good and we're working hard and we're going to make sure that we're continuing to do exactly what you promised. I want to thank the Secretary of Defense.
So there you go. I assume she's talking to President Trump with that. Not sure where that clip is coming in. Already we have some sort of developments with FEMA and their staff. FEMA disaster workers will need Secretary Noem's approval to stay on the job past their current terms under a policy change announced last night. FEMA disaster workers need secretaries okay Most federal emergency management agency employees will need Homeland Security Secretary Kirstner's approval to stay on their job after the current terms expire, paving the way for significant staffing reductions as President Donald Trump seeks to shrink federal agencies. FEMA announced the policy change Friday, stipulating that the renewal, so we're going to be able to, I'm definitely not a subscriber to Bloomberg. I'm definitely not a subscriber. There's no way I'm a subscriber to Bloomberg. I already subscribed to New York Times. FEMA already announced policy change Friday, stipulating that all renewals and extensions on term positions are subject to the Secretary's approval, according to a memo obtained by Bloomberg Government. What the hell's Bloomberg Government? Sounds terrifying. That includes reservists, temporary full-time employees, local hires, and on-call response employees who make up the bulk of the disaster agency's workforce. So apparently they're going to be transferring everything over to state agencies. That's the objective, is we're going to transfer FEMA over to state and local agencies. I'm going to tell you, first words, when I heard we're closing FEMA, I had very mixed reaction to that, because I understand that politically it's probably, that's a hot potato to slash. Same way you tell people that they were cutting Medicare, all of a sudden the shrieking would be like, oh my God, they're getting rid of killing grandma and all that other garbage. So when you say you're slashing FEMA, that is red meat for the left. They're going to scream, oh, Trump wants to kill all Americans, and you're going to have a natural disaster, there's going to be a wildfire, and now you're going to be broke, and we're not going to think, and good luck hurricane victims, good luck tornado victims. You know the screaming, the political screaming is going to be through the roof. On the other hand, FEMA itself has been kind of disastrous, really going back at least to 2002 with Katrina. I mean, FEMA has been just an utter clusterfart. There's no other word. I defy you to come up with a better word for FEMA than clusterfart. You cannot come up with one. So they are an utter disaster. But instead of couching it as getting rid of FEMA, I don't like that tone. Instead of saying that, which is just you might, seriously, this is like leaving a goat out for a dinosaur. The dinosaur being your stupid leftist talking heads. And this story is just like a goat. It's like they just, from like miles away, they're like, getting rid of FEMA? They're getting rid of FEMA? They're getting rid of FEMA? Oh my God, how can we have so many stories going on? They're getting rid of FEMA? Can you believe it? We can start screaming about what a lunatic Trump is and how crazy they are. They just start trumping on over to that goat. They see the goat. They're trumping on over. Here comes. We gotta go get our red meat. Our red meat is fresh. It's fresh. I'm gonna be first. I don't want someone else covering this story before me. They're gonna be doing. I'm sure I don't have to look at their stupid channels. I'm sure David Pakman, Brian Taylor, Tyler Cohn, every Yahoo out there is doing a whole thing about how FEMA is basically the life preserver for those who are struck by calamity, and everyone's going to die in the next hurricane if we don't have FEMA. You know that's coming. You know they're going to be saying that, which is why I don't like the whole thing as far as getting rid of FEMA. You can, instead of saying that, you say we're going to be improving our federal emergency relief. It's that simple. Why would I say I don't like Kirsty Noem going out there and saying we're getting rid of FEMA? Yeah, I understand that most of you are sitting there saying, "Oh, thank God, it's such an utter disaster." But they're not trying to play to you. They're trying to play to the people who are newly into the Trump camp, who are newly on board. The last 4 million voters who came on board. The last 8-10 million voters who came on board. That's who they're supposed to be playing to politically. And the headline, they're slashing FEMA without saying what the replacement plan is to ensure that there's actually relief, which is what they say they're going to be doing, is that they're going to be, finding ways to substitute, that the funding's still going to be there. It's just not going to be operating through this behemoth called FEMA. Everyone can be down with that, but if it just they just give that red meat of, oh, we're just getting rid of FEMA, it's just very poor messaging. That's a poor way to do it. That's not good. That's not the way you should be doing things. You do it by having her throw out there in some viral clip, oh, we're getting rid of FEMA. You and I can all sit there and say, huzzah, that's great, but they're not playing to you and me. That's not, maybe some of you who are watching, I don't know, but it's just like, it's very, very poor messaging. That was my thought on it. I love the idea. I just don't like the way that they're framing it. You don't have to frame it in a way that you're selling it to your own audience. I don't know. Don Manuel saying, Joe, we're not even talking about you. You're being mostly ignored. Phew. Thank God. The scariest thing I ever had is that anyone would be like listening to words coming out of my mouth. Are you crazy? New Jersey tap water is the best water I ever drank. We went to Newark for a funeral. My mother's cousins were shocked when we went nuts with tap water until they came to D.C. Give me New Jersey. Okay, let me explain something to you. Okay? I grew up in New York City. You can say a lot of crap about New York City. You can say a lot of crap about New York City. But their drinking water, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. And I moved out to New Jersey, and it's like, this is swell. This is swell. So I can't speak to, like, I can't tell you it's like one of the 5 worst drinking waters in the country. I don't know. I don't know what swill they're giving you down in D.C. I have no idea. I don't know what cesspools they're dragging your water from. I'm simply telling you what we have here is undrinkable. You're sitting there like guzzling it down. Yeah, look, I guess if I had nothing but like water flavored sewer rat, I'd be like, yeah, this is really good. But fortunately, I guess I was spoiled by New York City drinking water. I grew up in Queens, and I'll tell you right now, the drinking water there vastly superior to what I have here in Jersey. It's not even in the same ballpark. New York City drinking water is so good that I didn't even understand why people would buy water. I didn't understand. I was like, when they first started selling water, I was like, this is like selling air. This is like selling air, which actually was a thing when I was a kid. Yes, this is true. You used to be able to buy what they called Holy Land air, which supposedly was a canister that they would basically go into Israel, take a canister and just close it and then ship it back to America. So then you could bring it back to America and people would buy Holy Land air, which is the stupidest thing imaginable. I don't even think it probably is Holy Land air by the time it makes it back to America, first and foremost. But even if it did, that's kind of insane. That's kind of like completely illogical. There was nothing religious about it. It's just nothing about it. There was just nothing that made any sense. I always thought that was from the time I was 6 years old, I thought that was a scam. And I'm not exaggerating on that. I remember as a 6-year-old thinking, such a scam. Why would someone do that? But then when I saw bottled water, I was like, who would drink bottled water? How spoiled do you have to be? Like, ooh, look at me, Mr. Richie Rich, drinking Deer Park water. That's what I thought when I was a kid. That's what I thought growing up in New York City. So refreshing. No. I'll tell you right now, New York City tap water was always good. I came to Jersey and I was like, Trump continues flooding the zone, forcing the left to use vast resources while cutting off their NGO grip. It's a two-pronged attack. Well, what's the second prong? It's cutting off their resources. Oh, and forcing the okay. I gotcha. The Atlanta reporter Goldberg is a liar. He did the Suckers and Losers story 2 years after statement and a Biden campaign ad on Morning Joe. Okay, I didn't realize he was the Suckers and Losers author. That has a significant impact on my coverage of that story. Like a significant impact. I didn't realize that. I got an RO because my autistic son can't have all crap in his body. It's really good. I drink it too. All right. It's an RO. Is that some sort of water? My last air donation. Thank you. Good grip by Jews selling air. Oh, yes. Jews selling air. Imagine my shock. Why do you say it was Jews? Why? Why you just assume it was Jews? Maybe it was religious Christians. Oh, yeah, you just assume it was the Jews. Everyone always goes right over there. Oh, it must have been the... How do you know? You don't know. Holy Land there. Big, like Israeli flag on it. Holy Land there. So Jewish. Let me tell you this. Maybe it was being sold by Jews, but it wasn't being bought by Jews. That I can assure you. It was not being bought by Jews. Hey, sell bottled air in China because normal air is too polluted to breathe. This was literally, I'm telling you, it was a can that was like, it looked like a matchbox. It was like this big. It was like this big and like this thick. You just open it, and it was just like, there's your air. There, it's gone. Did you get it? Did you get it? Did you get it? Holy Land air. Oh my God, I can't believe I remember some of that stuff from my childhood. Such good memories. The Holy Land air. All right, time for me to check locals. Make sure I haven't missed anything in locals. We're good. We're good. Hey, Viola. Just refresh. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. Burns. Happy birthday to you. Springfield sucks. Having the Rolling Stones killed. Sir, that's not the Rolling. Just do it. Look up the hydrated water. It's a gag, but you can actually buy it. Nice. Yeah. Nice. There you go. Yeah. So anyway, my take on this is it's probably good to get rid of FEMA, but the messaging here was just disaster. That was terrible. That was a bad job. Bad job. Not a good job. No siree, Bob. All right. A couple people made reference to this story earlier during the show. It's time for us to talk about the blunder, the quote-unquote blunder, Pete Hegseth. The blunder from Hegseth. What are we talking about? All right. Let's get this succinctly, because no, I'm not subscribing to the Atlantic and that rag of a paper. I just can't. I won't. DD Geopolitics reporting leaked group chat shows how the Yemen war was planned on Signal. Yes, real. In a bizarre twist, the Atlantic's editor-in-chief was accidentally added to a group chat with Trump's inner circle, including Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, hashed out plans to bomb Yemen. Vance saying, I just hate bailing out Europe out again. Hegseth, I fully share your loathing European freeloading. It's pathetic. Let's make sure our message is tight. The strongest we can do is to send a message. So just to recap, they didn't think the Houthis were a real threat. They didn't think America would understand the strikes. They did it anyway to send a message. And they did an unencrypted chat app with journalists inside the group. You cannot make this up. This is how we're starting 2025. This is how this leftist DD Geopolitics shares this. I assume they're leftists. I never heard of them. This was the Atlantic article. The Trump administration accidentally texted me its war plans. U.S. national security leaders included me in a group chat about upcoming military strikes in Yemen. I didn't think it could be real. Then the bombs started falling. By Jeffrey Goldberg. And he includes in there certain screenshots that we're going to look at in more detail in just a moment. What he wrote in his article is, at this point, a fascinating policy discussion commenced. The account labeled JD Vance responded at 8:16, "Team, I'm out for the day doing an economic event in Michigan, but I think we're making a mistake." Vance was indeed in Michigan that day. The Vance account goes on to state, 3% of U.S. trade runs through the Suez, 40% of European trade does. There's a real risk that the public doesn't understand this or why it's necessary. The strongest reason to do this is, as Poe said, to send a message. The Vance account then goes on to make a noteworthy statement considering that the vice president has not deviated publicly from Trump's position on virtually any issue. Quote, "I'm not sure the president is aware how inconsistent this is with his message." And we'll look at the messages in just a moment here to get that part. So that's the story. So when we attacked Yemen and we bombed them, that apparently the discussion and decision to bomb Yemen was held over Signal, and not only that, which doesn't seem very skiff-like, doesn't seem very secure. You would think that we would have more secure technology. But then on top of that, the capper is that somebody blundered and incorporated Jeffrey Goldberg into the conversation, editor of The Atlantic. Now, a lot of people have questions. First thing you would say is, oh my God, Hegseth is an idiot. JD Vance is an idiot. Whoever else was involved was an idiot. Let's look at some of these chats. Hegseth wrote, VP, I fully share your loathing of European freeloading. It's pathetic. But Mike is correct. We're the only ones on the planet on our side of the ledger who can do this. Nobody else even close. Question is timing. I feel like now is as good a time as any given POTUS directive to reopen shipping lanes. I think we should go. But POTUS still retains 24 hours of decision space. SM, who I would assume is Stephen Miller, only because he's the guy who's bouncing around in the Oval Office all the time. So I would imagine that SM is Stephen Miller. As I heard, the president was clear green light, but we soon made clear to Egypt and Europe what we expect in return. We also need to figure out how to enforce such a requirement. E.g., if Europe doesn't remunerate, then what? If the U.S. successfully restores freedom of navigation at great cost, there needs to be some further economic gain extracted in return. JD Vance saying, Pete, if you think we should do it, let's go. I just hate bailing Europe out again. Let's make sure our messaging is tight here, and if there are things we can do upfront to minimize risk to Saudi oil facilities, we should. That's what VP, I fully share your loathing. These are some of the screen grabs that they had. Did I have any more here? No, that was it. I thought this was funny. Mostly peaceful memes putting out there. Most disappointing part of the leaked Houthi signal chat is they didn't have a funny, slightly racist group chat. That would have been awesome. That would have been awesome. And you would think they would. Barry's boyfriend's so true. My favorite group chat is Barry's boyfriend's. A lot of people are saying the complete lack of salty language makes me think it was intentionally leaked. Yeah. There was more that I had seen here in the leaked chat. Where can I, let's see if I find it here. No, I can actually read the story here, but I'm not going to, just because I don't care enough. You know, the principles are apparently seminal, and all 18 individuals are listed as members of the group, including various National Security Council officials. Steve Witkoff, President Trump's Middle East and Ukraine negotiator, Susie Wiles, someone identified only as SM, which I took to stand for Stephen Miller. I appear on my own screen only as JG. That was the end of the Thursday text chain. Oh, let's just see it. On Tuesday, March 11, I received a connection request from Signal from user identified as Michael Waltz. Signal is an open source encrypted messaging service popular with journalists and others who seek more privacy than other text messaging services are capable of delivering. He assumed it was Michael Waltz was National Security Advisor. I met him in the past, but I didn't find it particularly strange that he might be reaching out to me. I did think somewhat unusual, given the Trump administration's contentious relationship with not journalists, with lunatics. And he is a lunatic. So he accepted the connection request. 2 days later, received notice that I was to be included in a Signal chat group. It was called the Houthi PC Small Group. A message from the group from Michael Waltz read as follows: team establishing a principals group for coordination on Houthis, particularly for over the next 72 hours. My deputy, Alex Wong, is pulling together a Tiger team at deputy agency chief of staff level following up in the meeting in the sit room this morning for action items, and we're sending that out later this evening. PIs, or is it P1s? Provide the best staff POC from your team for us to coordinate with over the next couple of days and over the weekend. Thanks. The term Principals Committee generally refers to a group of senior-most national security officials, including the Secretary of Defense, State, and the Treasury. 1 minute later, a person identified only as Mar, the Secretary of State, is Rubio, Marco Antonio Rubio, wrote, Mike Needham for State apparently designated the current counselor of the State Department as his representative. The same moment, a Signal user identified as J.D. Vance wrote, Andy Baker for VP. 1 minute after that, TG, probably Tulsi, Director of National Intelligence, or someone masquerading as her, wrote Joe Kent for DNI. 9 minutes later, Scott B., apparently Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, or someone spoofing his identity, wrote Dan Katz for Treasury. Then Pete Hegseth wrote Dan Caldwell for DOD. And they're having all this whole conversation there in front of him. And all 18 individuals, including who he assumes is Stephen Miller. That was the end of the Thursday text chain. After receiving the Waltz text related to Houthi PC small group, I consulted a number of colleagues. We discussed the possibility that these texts were part of a disinformation campaign initiated by either a foreign intelligence service or, more likely, a media gadfly organization, the sort of group that attempts to place journalists in embarrassing positions and sometimes succeeds. I had very strong doubts that this text group was real, because I could not believe the national security leadership of the U.S. would communicate on Signal about imminent war plans. I also could not believe that the national security advisor to the president would be so reckless as to include the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic in such discussions with senior U.S. officials, up to and including the vice president. Next day, things got stranger. On 8:05, on Friday, March 14, Michael Waltz texted the group, Team, you should have a statement of conclusions with taskings per the president's guidance this morning. And at this point, a fascinating policy discussion commenced. The account labeled J.D. Vance responded at 8:16 a.m. Team, I'm out for the day, an economic event in Michigan, but I think we're making a mistake. The Vance account goes on to state 3% of U.S. trade runs through Suez, 40% of European trade does. There's a real risk that public doesn't understand this or why it's necessary. The strongest reason to do this, as Post said, is to send the message. He also says, I'm not sure the president's aware how inconsistent this is with his message on Europe right now. There's a further risk that we see a moderate to severe spike in oil prices. I'm willing to support the consensus of the team and keep these concerns myself, but there's a strong argument for delaying this a month, doing the messaging work on why this matters, seeing where the economy is, etc. Then Joe Kent, who's Trump's nominee to run the National Counterterrorism Center, wrote, there's nothing time sensitive during the timeline. We'll have the exact same options in a month. At 8:26 a.m., message landed my Signal app from John Ratcliffe. The message information that it might be interpreted as related to actual and current intelligence operations. At 8:27, a message arrived from Pete Hegseth account. VP, I understand. So it seems like that Jeffrey is leaving it out of this because he's afraid that if he gives the detail on that he could be breaching national security. 8:27, message arrived from Pete Hegseth account. VP, I understand your concerns and fully support you raising with POTUS. Important considerations, most of which are tough to know how they play out. economy, Ukraine peace, Gaza. I think messaging is going to be tough no matter what. Nobody knows who the Houthis are, which is why we need to stay focused on one, Biden failed, and two, Iran funded. Which does sound like the sort of thing that they would say. The exit message goes on the state. Waiting a few weeks or month does not fundamentally change the calculus. Immediately risks on waiting. One, this leaks, and two, we look decisive. One, this leaks. One, this might leak. And two, we look indecisive. Israel takes action first, or Gaza's ceasefire falls apart, and we don't get to start this on our own terms. We can manage both. We're prepared to execute. If I had a final go or no-go vote, I believe we should. This is not about the Houthis. I see two things. One, restoring freedom of navigation. And two, reestablish deterrence, which Biden cratered. But we can always easily pause, and if we do, I will do all we can to enforce 100% OPSEC. I welcome other thoughts. Then Mike Waltz posted a lengthy note about trade figures and limited capabilities of European navies. The account identified as JD Vance addressed a message at 8:45 to Pete Hegseth. If you think we should do it, let's go. I just hate bailing Europe out again. Gotta tell you, a lot of people think that as we're reading this, is there any statement that's written by someone here which you think that person would be embarrassed to have put in print and splashed across the entire world? As we're reading this, just ask yourself, is there anything that's any of them are writing that you think, wow, I'm really embarrassed that I wrote that and the public is seeing that I wrote that? And I think you'll see the answer is no. You're going to see that nothing any individual wrote here makes them look forget adding this guy into the chat, which that certainly reeks of incompetence, assuming this is accurate. I'm assuming it was accidental. It definitely reeks of incompetence. You can't deny that. But as far as what anyone wrote here, everything everyone wrote here just makes him seem even more based. Like JD Vance saying, hey, I think we should have concerns about this, but I'm going to be supportive of the team and concern. And he's, sticking up for Trump's and his messaging and supporting that messaging in our conduct. That all is what you would hope the vice president would be doing. I mean, he looks golden here. User identifies Hegseth, respond 3 minutes later. VP, I fully share your loathing of European freeloading. It's pathetic. But Mike is correct. We're the only ones on the planet in our side ledger who can do this. Nobody else is close. Question is timing. So they're saying we definitely need to do this. The question is all the time. At this point, the previously signed SM joined the conversation. As I heard the president, we got a clear green light, but we soon have to make clear to Egypt and Europe what we expect in return. Which this is all what you would think is a healthy policy. Like what happens if they don't remunerate? And you can tell that Jeffrey is nervous that maybe he's been duped here, which is why he's saying someone who's either Stephen Miller or someone who's pretending to be Stephen Miller. The last text today came from Pete Hegseth, who wrote not agree. After reading this chant, I recognize this conversation possessed a high degree of verisimilitude. The texts in their word choice and arguments sound as if they were written by the people who poorly sent them or by a particularly adept AI text generator. I was still concerned that this could be a disinformation operation or a simulation of some sort, and I remained mystified that no one in the group seemed to have noticed my presence. But if it was a hoax, the quality of mimicry and the level of foreign policy insight was impressive. It was the next morning, Saturday on the 15th, when this story became truly bizarre. At 11:44 a.m., the account labeled Pete Hegseth posted in Signal, team update. I will not quote from this update or from other subsequent texts. The information contained in them, if they had been read by an adversary in the United States, could conceivably have been used to harm American military intelligence personnel, particularly in the broader Middle East, Central Command's area of responsibility. What I will say, in order to illustrate the shocking recklessness of this single conversation, is that Hegseth's post contained operational details of forthcoming strikes on Yemen, including information about targets, weapons the U.S. would be deploying, and attack sequencing. The only person to reply from the update from Hegseth was the person. So I guess that would be embarrassing for Hegseth that he's sharing that with this guy. The only person to reply to the update from Hegseth was the person identified as vice president. And he said, "I'll send a prayer for victory." According to the lengthy Hexit test, the first detonations in Yemen will be felt 2 hours hence at 1:45 p.m. Eastern time. So I waited in my car in a supermarket parking lot. If this signal chat were real, I reasoned, Houthi targets would soon be bombed. At about 1:55, I checked X and searched Yemen. Explosions were then being heard across Sana'a, the capital city. I went back to the signal chat at 1:48. Michael Waltz had provided the group an update. Again, I won't quote, except to note they described the operation as amazing job. A few minutes later, John Ratcliffe wrote, good start. Not long after, Waltz responded with 3 emoji, a fist and American flag on fire. Others soon joined, including MAR, who wrote, good job, Pete, and your team. And Susie Wiles, who texted, kudos to all, most particularly those in the theater and CENTCOM. Really great. God bless. Steve Witkoff. Tulsi Gabbard responded, great work and efforts. The after-action discussion included assessments of damage done, including likely death. On Sunday, Waltz went on this week and contrasted those strikes with the Biden administration's more hesitant approach. These were not kind of pinprick back and forth, but ultimately proved to be feckless attacks. This was an overwhelming response that actually targeted multiple Houthi leaders and took them out. The signal chat group, I conclude, was almost certainly real. Having come to this realization, one that seemed nearly impossible only hours before, I removed myself from the signal group, understanding that this would trigger an automatic notification to the group's creator, Mike Waltz, that I had left. No one in the chat had seemed to notice I was there, and I received no subsequent questions about why I left, and more to the point, who I was. Earlier today, I emailed Waltz and sent him a message on a Signal account. And in an email, I outlined some of my questions. Is this Houthi PC small group a genuine Signal thread? Did they know that I was included in the group? Was I on the off chance included on purpose? If not, who did they think I was? Did anyone realize who I was when I was added? When I removed myself from the group? Did senior Trump administrators use Signal for sensitive discussions? Do officials believe that the use of such a channel could endanger American personnel? Brian Hughes confirmed the veracity of the Signal group and that they were reviewing how he got added in. Hughes wrote, the thread is a demonstration of deep and thoughtful policy coordination between senior officials, the ongoing success of the Houthi operation. William Martin, a spokesperson for Vance, said that despite the impression created by the text, the vice president is fully aligned with the president. So all in all, it seems like this was a real text. This was a real thread. And now the question is this legitimate? Some people are saying, oh, was he intentionally thrown in there? Tim Pool seems to think that he was intentionally put in there, as he says here.
They accidentally created a group chat to discuss bombing Yemen and included a liberal Russia journalist. Then there's the other story, and that's they intentionally created the group chat with a script that took 2 days to write, and they wanted him to espouse their narrative to the world. Look, I don't know exactly, but I think there's a strong possibility that these journalists are dumb as a box of rocks. And the Trump administration, should they have actually included him, did it intentionally so that he would report their words behind the scenes, which I got to be honest, makes him look kind of good. J.D. Vance saying, we can't
look kind of good. He's even saying it like Trump.
Can't bomb Yemen. This goes against Trump's message. And then Hegseth says, but we're the only ones in the world who can put a stop to this. And then there's J.D. Vance saying, I get it, you're right, but I really want to keep bailing out Europe. U.S. trade doesn't even go through here. It really sounds like a PR message distilled through a moron who thinks he got leaked information. So the American people think they're getting a genuine behind-the-scenes look at the difficult decision to bomb Yemen. Let's be real. When they decided to have a conversation about bombing Yemen, they didn't do it over Signal. They met at the Pentagon. They're all in D.C. as it is. What a ridiculous story. But maybe I'm crazy and everybody else is crazy.
So Tim Pool thinks it's a ridiculous story. Which I understand his hesitancy. And I will say this. If your enemies are making you look good, sharing your behind-the-scenes conversations that make you look really good, it only helps sell the legitimacy of you actually being good that much harder. Like even your enemies are reporting on stuff that you're saying and sharing. This is what you're saying behind the scenes. In that sense, it could be good PR. The question really comes down into the quote unquote sensitive information that Jeffrey Goldberg kept out of the story. If in fact they were sharing national secrets and strategies with Jeffrey Goldberg, you would think that that would not be part of a PR campaign. Now, I believe Jeffrey Goldberg was correct in his decision not to share that with the public, but it does sort of leave us left to his discretion as were they really sensitive national secrets, or is he throwing that out there for the purpose of trying to make the Trump administration look incompetent, which he could be doing, because we know Jeffrey Goldberg is commonly full of crap. Case in point, as St. John pointed out, Goldberg is a liar. He did the same. He did the suckers and losers story where he pretended he got 4 anonymous sources who said that Trump referred to our veterans as suckers and losers, or captured veteran POWs. But the whole suckers and losers, which was such an obvious crap, let's feed in to our audience what we know they want us to say, and say we have our anonymous sources so we can never be fact checked on it. So, yeah, so this guy is literally as his credibility is below sea level. It's like somehow it managed to sink into the Dead Sea where everything floats except whatever he's telling you. Whatever Jeffrey Goldberg is telling us, which manages to just sink on down there, defies physics, and that's where his credibility is. It's so low it defies physics. So when Jeffrey Goldberg comes along and says, and they included certain top secret sensitive information, which is too secret for me to share with you, that could be complete and total crap, and not at all what happened, in order to help give legitimacy to it. So was he brought in there? Yes. But did he enhance the story? Very possibly. I have to say, if not likely, because he has a history of animus towards the Trump administration and literally lying his tuchus off to try and embarrass them. So is this another example of Jeffrey Goldberg being a fat, stinking liar? Very possibly. I would probably go further and say very probably. Very probably, because how would you or I know whether or not that was there? So, the point being, it could be a PR story that was being planted. It does seem like a strange way to plant a PR story. That you would plant a PR story by making yourselves look like you're clumsy in bringing this guy into your chat. It does seem like it's sort of a risk of shooting yourself in the face for your own PR. But, so I'm sort of left, I don't know. I don't think we're ever going to know. But I'm curious what you think. Do you think that he was intentionally brought in there, or that he was not intentionally brought in there? I gave all the factors to say that it was accidental. Accident, really, that's the top secret stuff coming in there. That would be the biggest reason. But then the question is, do you give any credibility to Jeffrey Goldberg on it? And do you think that they would? I guess the other question is, would they really sell PR this way, which starts off with them looking clumsy and foolish and sloppy in allowing some total stranger in there? And the other thing that sounds really crazy, of all the people you would accidentally invite, of all the people on the planet that you would accidentally invite, it happens to be that is the editor-in-chief of like some who hates you. That's the guy you happen to bring in there. That does sound a little ridiculous. It does sound a little ridiculous. But let me know your thoughts. I definitely am curious as to what you think about that. Do you think that it's a real story? Do you think it's crap? Don Mannion says, ask me if I believe it. I will tell you I don't care. All right. Well, you might not care. You may not care, but others care. Eggs and bacon for breakfast, much healthier than cereal. Yeah, you see, I'm not doing that anytime this life cycle. So our last Crow sponsor. All right. RO is reverse osmosis. Reverse osmosis. That's what Lily was talking about with her RO. She said, I got an RO because my autistic son can't have all the crap in his body. I don't know what reverse osmosis is. I have no idea what the heck that even means. Signal is very secure. Look it up. I thought Signal was pretty secure. I don't think that that's like an embarrassing way to communicate. I thought the whole point of Signal is that it's ridiculously secure. Just got here. I don't think it was an accident Goldberg was invited. I doubt they talked war plans, but said enough to get Goldberg to take the bait. Real question is, what's the purpose of baiting? The purpose of baiting is to make them look really great. Now look at how we aggravated over this decision. Look at how, this wasn't just haphazard. This is to get their message out there in a way that's actually very convincing. When your own enemy is basically showing how you're aggravating over this decision and really, getting out the story. The whole concern they had is how are we going to message this to the people? And now instead of them trying to sell what they think, you have your enemy, your political enemy, selling them what you think. Tim sounds rough. I stopped watching Timcast years ago. I don't even remember why at this point. It must have been a stressful few years for him. Well, I'll tell you. I think he has some good work product. I should mention that I am going to be on Tim Pool later this week on Friday. So, yeah, on the culture wars. A culture war? I'm not sure if it's plural. There could be multiple wars. It could just be one big war. It really depends on how you're looking at it. I remember you telling Destiny, don't gaslight me. I'm not in the mood. Did I tell him that? Very possible. Very possible. The only thing I remember saying to Destiny is, I don't know, if you're just going to cut me off on the middle of speaking, I don't know why you need me here. You just get a cardboard cutout and assume that you know what I'm going to say. You don't need me here. Just get a cardboard cutout of me and point at it. Tell your audience everything I'm going to say and why it's stupid. Which my sister my sister said when she saw that, she fell over laughing. So, true, who cares? False, who cares? Don't give this air. Keep marching forward. Refer questions to Secretary of Defense Hegseth. The way he gave his answer. They don't have any power to do anything about it anyway. This is true. This is true. As Dale Stark says, I don't know who that is, but I don't buy the Atlantic story at face value. It's likely a deliberate leak to put Europe on notice or to root out a trader from within. Someone didn't just accidentally add Lion Jeff Goldberg to a group chat. And here's Trump. Here's Trump on this issue.
Venezuela, your reaction to the story in the Atlantic that said that some of your top cabinet officials and aides had been discussing very sensitive material through Signal and included an Atlantic reporter for that. What is your response to that?
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of the Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had what?
They were using Signal to coordinate on sensitive materials and
having to do with what? Having to do with what? What were they talking about?
With the Houthis.
The Houthis? You mean the attack on the Houthis? Well, it couldn't have been very effective because the attack was very effective. I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it. You're telling me about it for the first time. Anybody else?
Venezuela, your reaction to the.
Now, he's obviously going to be asked about this again in the future. Be interesting to see how he handles this when he's asked, okay, have you spoken to them about it? Now that you heard about it, have you spoken a day or two later? Have you spoken to Vance or Waltz about this, or Hegseth? That's a reasonable question to ask. It's a reasonable question to ask. Ask Tim if he's playing Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. It's definitely going to be top of my list. Here's the thing. Because of the timing, I expect to have very little time to actually talk with Tim. They told me they're going to have me in studio like a half hour before the show starts. And it's like I have to travel for like an hour and a half. I'm trying to get back for Shabbos. I'm going to be taking a train back, and it takes like 3 hours. And basically, from the time the show ends, I have like 6 hours to get back home. And half of that time, I'm going to be in transit. The flight didn't work. Timing on the flight didn't work out. So I'm actually going to be taking a train back home. But I'm basically going to have to like leave the show and 10 minutes later be like in a car heading to like the train station. So I don't expect to have much time to be cavorting with Tim. Maybe next time. We'll see. Was epic. Of course it was. When I said that to Destiny, that was pretty funny. A reverse osmosis water purifier. I saw one in the Army that turned brown pond water into clean drinking water pretty much instantly. Really? That's pretty cool. All right. We're well into our second show here, just letting you know. Well into our second show. So I'm going to start covering some of the topics that were saved for second show. Second show time. Where are we at? Which is this one? Yeah. Okay. In my efforts to help protect you from looking or sounding like an idiot, I'm going to share a story with you and tell you right now. This video, which has how many views? How many views has this got? How many views? 57,000 likes. This video has 57,000 likes, 24,000 retweets. I'm going to tell you right now that this video we're going to watch, I believe, is 100% BS crap. So in case you've seen this and you thought that you might use the information in this short video sometime during conversation with the audience, I am putting you on notice that in case you have seen it and you already think that this is truth, I'll tell you, I don't believe this is true.
So Doge uncovered a little bit of information about Michelle Obama. She's been getting $122,000 a month since 2009.
I don't think that's true at all. I think that's a complete lie. I don't think Doge. I think we would have seen stuff from Elon about this. I don't think any of that's true.
From us. Don't believe me? Go look it up. They found it through the GSA. I don't know what the fuck that is, but it says that that's like the checkbook of accounts, payments and receiving accounts. It's the checkbook of America.
Whenever you hear someone telling you something that just sounds too perfect, and they're saying, and especially when they say, go look it up, because they know you're not going to look it up, and they're telling you something that sounds like the sort of thing that would just be like, it's supposed to inspire you towards feeling a strong emotion. That is just some random individual sharing with you some deep, dark secret that you didn't know that's supposed to inspire strong emotion from you. And it fits perfectly with what you would sort of think is like, it feeds perfectly into like your predetermined perspectives about various nefarious individuals. Instead of looking like, potentially an idiot, really make sure you're double checking the accuracy of it. Just double check, because I don't think any of this is true.
Is this GSA? And it was just a routine audit, and they found it, and they said that she's not the only one. They canceled her payments. Michelle Obama, $122,000 a month she's been getting since 2009, and America has oppressed her.
So there you go. That was my way of protecting you. I don't think any of that is true. They would not be so stupid as to be so overt. You think they're cutting a check to Michelle Obama? No. First and foremost, it would be through some agency that she would call. We would be cutting her a check. And readers are in context. Doge did not discover any payment to Michelle Obama because she does not receive a monthly payment of $122 from GSA. False claim originated satire in Dunning-Kruger Times. A satirical website targets conservatives. And yeah, I think that this whole thing is designed to try and embarrass conservatives, that they'll buy anything. That's my personal take on this. I'm going to click some of those links just so we can see the veracity of the fact checking link. I mean, Snopes isn't really very reliable. First Lady fashion statement, official dance moves for the nation. You see, no. This is definitely not true. I already said at the outset of the show that, first and foremost, happy birthday. I hope it was an awesome birthday. Or will be. Hope it'll be on Thursday, an awesome birthday. I already said at the outset of the show, I'm not going to be able to do a show, my regular show Thursday night, but I do plan on doing locals. Just because I'm going to be on the road. There's no way for me to do a regular show. No firmies near Tim that can host you for Shabbos. I looked into that whole, trust me, there was a whole back and forth. I was trying to figure out what to do about Shabbos. I was thinking, I almost spent Shabbos in Silver Spring, Baltimore. I was looking at all sorts of different options, but I'd far prefer to be back home. So, home it will be. That's just not refreshing. It's this time of evening. I'm supposed to tell you to please like and subscribe because I haven't said that all night. So it's really long overdue that I do that. All right, I had a bunch of other stories I need to cover for you. And I told you, I promised you that in my added hour, I was going to cover this story here about another crooked Democrat. Check this out. Check this out. Boston City Council member, Democrat Tanya Fernandez Anderson, arrested on public corruption charges. 5 counts of wire fraud and 1 count of theft concerning programs receiving federal funds, which includes giving family member a $13,000 bonus. However, this generous bonus came with a hitch, a bathroom meeting, and a $7,000 bonus for me.
Earlier today, Boston City Council member Tanya Fernandez Anderson was arrested on federal public corruption charges. These 6 felony charges stem from an alleged kickback scheme that she orchestrated to obtain several $1,000s in taxpayer money in exchange for a bribe she paid to a staffer she gave her a very large bonus. The indictment charges Ms. Fernandez Anderson with 5 counts of wire fraud in violation of Title 18, United States Code 1343, and 1 count of theft concerning programs receiving federal funds, violation of Title 18, United States Code 666. According to the indictment that was returned by a federal grand jury earlier this week, Ms. Fernandez-Anderson was facing financial difficulty in 2023. Part of that financial difficulty stemmed from a sanction that was imposed by the State Ethics Commission of $5,000 for Ms. Fernandez-Anderson hiring immediate family members in her Boston City Council office. And in around that same time in 2023, Ms. Fernandez-Anderson, the grand jury alleges, patched this scheme to funnel bonus payments, taxpayer money into her own pocket in the tune of approximately $7,000. Specifically, despite the fact that she was under investigation by the State Ethics Commission, Ms. Fernandez-Anderson hired another family member on her staff at Boston City Hall to handle constituent services.
So stupid.
That staff member was related to her, but Ms. Fernandez-Anderson falsely represented to City Hall that there was no familial relationship. That is staff member A in the indictment. Ms. Fernandez-Anderson then went on to tell that staff member A that she would give that person a $13,000 bonus. That bonus of $13,000 was more than twice as much as Ms. Fernandez was paying to the rest of her staff combined in bonuses. That supersized bonus came with a hitch. Ms. Fernandez-Anderson told staff member A that she would need to fork over $7,000 in cash back to Ms. Fernandez-Anderson.
Stupid.
Staff member A agreed. The indictment alleges that after staff member A received the deposit of approximately $10,000 after taxes in her bank account, staff member A was directed to make cash withdrawals. And she did that in the days following the receipt of the money in her bank account. $3,000 on May 31st, 2023, $3,000 on June 5th, 2023, and $4,000 on the afternoon of Friday, June 9th, 2023. And shortly after that last cash withdrawal, Ms. Fernandez-Anderson and staff member A texted each other, and they arranged for a meetup in a bathroom in City Hall. That meeting happened in the bathroom around.
All right. When I first read about the meeting in the bathroom, I thought that was a lot more illicit than what they're describing.
4 o'clock or so on that Friday. And when they met inside that bathroom, Ms. Fernandez-Anderson put $7,000 in cash in her pocket, the grand jury alleges. All of that money was funded by the taxpayers of the city of Boston. When faced with financial hardship and that State Ethics Commission $5,000 sanction, Ms. Fernandez-Anderson chose to violate her fiduciary duty and defraud the city of Boston, the indictment alleges, rather than find a legal means to pay off that debt. When her constituents elected Ms. Fernandez-Anderson, she had a fundamental obligation to act with the utmost integrity. Public officials who line their pockets with taxpayer money erode the trust and confidence of the public in the officials who serve them. Public service is a privilege, and all of us in public service have a duty to act with integrity and fairness in all that we do.
So dumb. If you're a public official, seriously, it's so stupid. She literally destroyed her entire life over $7,000. Destroyed her life over $7,000. What is that? Like 40 cartons of eggs? Why? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? This is so stupid. Just buy the eggs. Just buy the eggs. So stupid. Literally destroyed her life. Ended up in prison, humiliation, everything. It's like so stupid. It's like, how dumb do you have to be? How dumb are some of these people? My God. And that's not to excuse someone who engages in fraud on much larger means, but I'm just saying it's all the stupider. It's all the stupider. Think about the risk reward. How dumb do you have to be that you think you're not going to get busted on something so blatant? God. We have the same problem here in New Jersey. We have the same problem. I can't tell you how many city officials here have just going to jail over $5,000. Taking bribes, kickbacks. So stupid. I'm sorry. This to me is that's Darwin. That's natural selection saying you're too stupid to have this job. Way too stupid to have this job. I also promised I was going to give you a very cool story. One of the coolest stories I've heard involving Donald Trump in the last couple of days, certainly. Probably the coolest story I heard about him in 2025. Although this story is actually much older. It goes back to 2018. And this is a story I found that's being shared by Rick Harrison. He's on a show with the pawn shop. I think that's who he is. I mean, you'll tell me if I'm wrong. I think that's who this is. Rick Harrison. He looks like the guy from the pawn shop show. It's a pretty good show, actually. I only ever catch it when I'm like in a hotel overnight, and I'll be like, "Oh, look, pawn shop. That looks like it's kind of. I don't know why it's so entrancing, but it is. It's him. That's him. All right, Pawn Stars. Right. Okay. So this is his story about President Trump, which this is a very cool story.
Most memorable time you've ever had with Trump?
When he called me up and apologized to me.
For what?
This is in 2018. He's having a rally here in town for a guy running for Congress, someone running for Congress and Senate, and they wanted me to announce him at the rally. So I show up with my son Jake and my daughter Serena. White House staff, hey Rick, how's it going? Like, come on this way. And we go to backstage, and like Secret Service goes, he's not on the list. And they're going like, but it's Rick Harrison. His friend's like, not on the list. Doesn't matter. And I'm literally trying to call like a U.S. senator and some other people, some congressmen. I can't get a hold of anybody.
I'm just going to pause this story and tell you, it must be really nice to have a U.S. senator on your speed dial that you could just call a U.S. senator when you're having a problem. That must be a really handy thing to have. As of yet, in this stage of development of my career, when I look through my Rolodex, it's what I call my contacts list. When I look through my Rolodex, there's no U.S. senators who are in there yet. It must be a very handy thing to have. Just call my favorite U.S. senator.
Secret Service throws me into the public and I am getting mobbed. And we had to leave. We could not stay there. So we ended up driving home. I dropped Jake off. I'm so pissed off. I'm going to the bar. I get like a block from the house, and then like Senator Heller's number pops up on my truck. I'm like, and like Senator Heller knows I have no filter. So the first words out of his mouth is like, Rick, before you say a word, the President of the United States would like to talk to you. And the first words out of Trump's mouth were, Rick, I am really sorry. This is all my fault. Because my White House staff, they work for me. They screwed up. That makes it my fault. I'm sorry. They should have informed the Secret Service. So I'm sorry. Will you please come back down to the convention center? We'll try and make this happen. And you're not going to tell the President of the United States no. So I turn around, go back to the house, grab my son Jake, says, President wants us to go to the convention center. Where do we get there? So it was funny. So we're driving down there, and then I got a weird phone number pop up on my truck there. And I got like, some guy goes like, this is such and such with the Secret Service in DC. I have the Secret Service guy at Vegas on location. We have the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police under sheriff, and all these people are on the phone.
I swear I don't. I don't. I really, really don't. I don't. Really. God.
Pop up on my truck there, and I got like, some guy goes like, this is such and such with the Secret Service in DC. I have the Secret Service guy at Vegas on location. We have the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police under sheriff, and all these people are on the phone. The big guy says, get you to the convention center. Where are you at? What are you driving? I'm saying, when I'm driving a gray Raptor, I'm going down Desert Ed right now. He goes like, Where you at? I'm going, I'm right at Durango. When you get to Decatur, whether the light's red or green, stop, flash your headlights. So we literally, the light is green. We got people honking at me. I stop, and also like 8 cop cars that come out of nowhere. I get a phone call, follow us. And I got my son there going like, Dad, who do you know? I'm like, I guess I'm kind of important. And they got us to the convention center. And my son got his picture with the president.
That's a good story. That's a good story. I guess I'm kind of important is kind of, that's the part I would be honest. But yeah, I thought that was a good story. So I wanted to share it all with you all. And I liked how Trump just immediately assumes responsibility for an error that was clearly made by someone on his staff. But he's just like, no, that's not me. I'm sorry. I sometimes question his I told certain things about his personality that like I wouldn't want to see in my kids. But there are certain elements to his personality which are just head and shoulders above many, many, many politicians. Many politicians. Public officials who line their pockets with taxpayer money happens all over the place all the time. How about Fannie Wells taking kickback withdrawals at the store with the card tried to campaign funds? Indictment? Love to see that. I would love to see that. I would love to see that. No man or woman is above the law. That's what we're going to be saying. No man or woman is above the law. I'm covering rando stories. These are like rando things that I was like, this would be tough to make a show around. Like, just here's tonight's show, random stories that Joe thinks is cool. But as part of a bonus show, of a double show, this is perfect. This is perfect. We're covering random things that you should have seen and yet may not have yet. Stephen A. Smith. And I'll tell you, recently they say that it's reported that Stephen A. Smith, in case you're unfamiliar with who he is, he's a sports commentator who recently has started speaking out about politics. And what's interesting about him is even though you would assume him to be someone who's on the left, he will sometimes blast the left. And this is one of those times that he blasts the left. And shockingly, kicks the people closest to home, specifically his very own staff. He's about to embarrass the people working with him in the room. I've never seen anyone do that. I've never seen anyone do that. I've never seen it.
I got a story to tell the Democratic Party.
And if you're bothered by the fact that a sports commentator is making $20 million a year and getting paid like he's some sort of guy who can, like, you know, drop 40 points a night, I'm just going to tell you this. Well, actually, 40 points a night, probably making a lot more than that. But I'm going to tell you this. I say kudos to you, Stephen A. Smith. He is able to bring in the audiences. He brings people in. He's engaging. He knows exactly how to push buttons. Do I agree with his takes on sports? Frequently, I strongly disagree with him. I think he's kind of an idiot. But I still say kudos to him, because you rise up to being like the top of your industry where you're not replaceable, really. And if you go somewhere else, is a real hit to your employer, and you basically able to negotiate $20 million a year, I say to you, you worked hard for that, and you deserve it. You bring something that's irreplaceable. No different than some star pitcher that a baseball team needs.
Are you ready for this? Rather than telling us what we should vote against, maybe you should present us with options of what to vote for. Just a thought. I mean, my God, are you okay, Michael, with me suggesting that? Are you okay with me, Sherry, suggesting that?
Listen to him call out names.
Rashawn Galen and all of the bunch of leftists that's under my umbrella trying to act like they're independents when they're full of it. I'm talking about my whole damn staff. I can say it with love and affection because I don't mind. I'm a centrist. I think my man Rashawn is a centrist. The rest of these damn people working for me, I mean, what left-wing party are you associated with? I mean, you got to believe this stuff. You got to listen to it to hear it. I'm going to say it again. Rather than come to folks with what to vote against, how about telling us what we should vote for?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. That's a moment. That's a moment. I don't know what the hell happened afterwards. I guess they're all pretty much disposable to him. He can replace him with anyone. He's freaking Stephen A. Smith, and he's making his $20 million a year. But yeah, he's calling out his own staff by name. All right, Rashonda. All right, Sherry, you suck. I need to get me a staff to abuse. Rather. He does like a great Sunday morning preacher too. Does a great job. Biggest question. What's the biggest question? If I could have one senator on my speed dial, that's a really good question. If I could, like the top senator I would want to have on my speed dial, probably be based Mike Lee. That's who it would be. It'd probably be Mike Lee. That's probably the one I would want, by the way, if that's what your question was. You were a little vague with that one. Don't forget the pet rocks. Oh, you're going back to the Holy Land there. You're behind, aren't you? I assume that's what you're going back to. I don't know. I assume that's what you're going back to. I wasn't here for it. I don't know. I promised you more of Jasmine Crockett's idiocy. Idiocy. This one is so desperately trying to become the next AOC. She is so clearly desperately trying to become the next AOC.
I think that you punch. I think you punch. I think you're okay with you okay with punching. You know, I think and I love Colin.
What happened to
and
her
I think
eye?
towards the end he's
Look at her. Look at that. What? It's like there's a tarantula growing out of her eyelids. What the hell? I understand they're falsies. What the hell is happening with her face here? She looks like she's had 7 boosters. I don't know what the heck is happening here. Did they not tell her she's gonna be on TV today? Did they not tell her she's gonna be in the public spotlight? And those falsies are just flopping everywhere. She can't even open her right eye. But she needs to tell you all that it's time to punch. Like as I'm scrolling through this, I see her eyes closed like the whole time.
punch. I think you're okay with you okay with punching. You know, I think and I love Colin, and I think towards the end he started to punch a little harder. But like it's Ted Cruz. I mean, like this dude has to be knocked over the head like hard, right? Like there is no niceties with him, like at all. Like you go clean off on him, right? I think that.
Oh, friggin' lunatic. Airheaded lunatic. That was actually shared by Mike Lee, base Mike Lee, the aforementioned senator I'd most love to have in my Jewidex, who says, I'm pretty sure the House of Representatives have rules. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. They are the party of violence. It's not by it's built into the nature. It's built into their nature. That we're just gonna keep screaming and kicking and we'll get violent if we have to. We're gonna get violent. Everything about Democratic Party. This is just we don't have really anything to sell you on. So when you don't want to listen to us, we're just gonna get violent. Kind of intertwine the back of why. Okay. Long time no chat, Joe. I've missed you, Eric. I wish I had a U.S. Senator. Best I've accomplished as a state senator. I have an assemblyman. I have a state assemblyman in my phone. Does that count? It's not too bad. Maybe her eye got punched. Maybe that's why she's advocating for punching. Is she knows the pain? She knows the pain? Could be. No. While we're dealing with lunatic lefty Democrats, before we move away from them, shared a story earlier with you about what was her name? What was that woman's name? That was Tanya Fernandez Anderson. But I got another one for you here. I got another idiot, crazy, stupid government employee this time, and she thinks that she's a big time star, and she wanted to go the Jussie Smollett route. This is how you know that racism is literally a part of American history and no longer part of our culture. When they need to manufacture racist incidents, when they need to manufacture someone leaving a noose on their desk, that's when you know racism's dead. We beat it. Thank God. Awesome. Great job. Go us. Racism is dead. At least white against black. I can't really say about the other way, but racism against black people, which was something that we had to conquer, has been conquered because they're desperately trying to find incidents where people are racist against black folks. I think we've gotten as close to that as we possibly can. And now this woman's going to jail because she's upset she hasn't been targeted for racism.
The purpose of this press conference is to provide an update regarding the noose investigation. I want to take a moment to thank the following agencies who assisted in this case: Lehigh County District Attorney's Office, the Pennsylvania State Police Crime Lab, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The Allentown Police Department conducted a thorough investigation, including interviews of persons, analysis of evidence, and consultation with the District Attorney's Office of Lehigh County. As a result of the subsequent investigation, LaTarsha Brown was charged with tampering with or fabricating physical evidence, a misdemeanor of the second degree, and false reports to law enforcement, a misdemeanor of the third degree. As in every criminal case, the fact that a warrant has been issued or a complaint has been filed is merely an accusation.
That was the first thought I had also. I'm like, is that a comb forward? Is that a comb forward? I don't know what's happening there. This is like, did he go into his barber and say, "Give me the mo"? It's like, wait, do you want Larry? You want Curly? Or you want Mo? I'm going Mo. I'm definitely going Mo.
The defendant is presumed innocent until and unless proven guilty in a court of law. I'm now going to ask Captain Milkovich.
Now I'm going to tell you how guilty this crazy bitch is. A defendant is considered innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But let me explain to you just how guilty this crazy bitch is.
To provide a summation of this investigation. Good afternoon, everybody. Captain Milkovich, Criminal Investigations Division. On January 10th, 20.
Now we're gonna have a poll. I just put a poll up before now. Is she guilty? Is she guilty or not? There's one little nugget of information which is pretty compelling. Should I put a poll? I think as soon as you heard the story, you're like, oh, she's totally guilty, this woman.
2025.
I think she's never met a racist in her life.
Approximately 7:11 a.m., Allentown City employee LaTarsha Brown arrived at her office on the third floor of City Hall. At approximately 7:38 a.m., Ms. Brown notified the Allentown Police Department that she discovered what she believed to be a noose on her desk upon arriving at work. Officers assigned to the Community Outreach Unit, Crime Scene Identification Unit, and Criminal Investigations Unit responded, initiating a criminal investigation to identify the individual responsible for placing the noose on Ms. Brown's desk. During the investigation, video surveillance and building access control records were reviewed to identify city employees present on the third floor of City Hall between the time Ms. Brown left for work on the afternoon of January 9, 2025, and her arrival on the morning of January 10th. Those employees were interviewed.
Each was asked if they would provide a buccal swab for DNA testing if needed. Every employee agreed, except for Ms. Brown. Initially cooperative, Ms. Brown later requested that the investigation be discontinued. The news.
That's not a good sign. Can you please stop doing an investigation into this crime? No, we're not stopping. No, Lasharka. Sorry. No. Please just stop. Let's just let bygones be bygones. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Was submitted to the Pennsylvania State Police Crime Lab for DNA testing on January 14, 2025. On January 24, 2025, a search warrant was approved by the Lehigh County District Attorney's Office for Ms. Brown's DNA, and a DNA sample was obtained that same day.
Uh-oh. Oh, no. They're really serious about this whole investigation thing. They're really, really serious about all this. I can't believe this. Man, this is gonna really hurt the whole I'm a victim Facebook post I had. Damn it.
On January 27, 2025, Ms. Brown's buccal swab was submitted to the Bethlehem Regional Crime Lab of the Pennsylvania State Police.
I wonder how this is gonna go. Uh-oh. Now they got her DNA. This isn't good.
For comparison with DNA profiles recovered from the noose.
Oh no! Now they're comparing the DNA to the DNA on the noose. Well, look, obviously, if she went into her and she got into her desk and she saw a noose there, she's gonna be touching the noose. You know, you're gonna pick it up. You're like, "What's this? Oh, what's this?" You know, that's what you do. Look, every time I find a noose on my desk, the very first thing I do is I'll pick it up and I'll be like, I'll be holding it firmly in my hand. I'll run my fingers all around it to check the tensile strength of the rope to know, is this a noose that would work? Would it snap? Is this something that would support my weight? How long is the rope above it? I'd be measuring that part, touching my fingers all along there. Obviously, that's what everyone does as soon as a noose is found on their desk. So, no, it sounds totally innocent.
On March 10, 2025, the Forensic DNA Division of the Pennsylvania State Police issued a written report indicating that Ms. Brown's DNA matched the DNA profile obtained from the swabs of both the outer surface and
it's on the outer surface. So that, that could happen to anyone. She's touching it. That's what you do.
An inner knotted portion of the noose after it was taken apart.
So when they took apart the knots, that part which was not touchable when it's in noose form, when it's in noose, when it's in noose format, that part had her DNA also. That's not good. Why do we need to continue this investigation? I asked you to stop.
No other person's DNA profiles found on the evidentiary items involved in this investigation. As a result of this investigation earlier today, Detective Harold Bonds of the Allentown Police Department filed charges against LaTarsha Brown at District Court 31-2-01 for the criminal offenses outlined earlier by Chief Roca. Thank you.
Oh, the inner part of the knots. That's rough. That's rough. Let me check how my poll's at here. All right. Some of you think that we're far away. My poll was, is she guilty? yes got 25% of the vote. Hell yes got 50. Sorry, now it's down to 24. Hell yes got 57% of the votes. Innocent till proven guilty got 12%, and I doubt it got 6% of the vote. So there you go. There you go. Most of my audience here thinks she's probably guilty. Santiago Space Outlaw. Oh, wait, I missed this. Dominion F Duck says, come to my channel and watch the Mofo No Show Joe show on Thursday. Look at that. Look at that. Generating revenue for the other people. There you go. There you go. You'll check it out on Thursday. I will be having a local show, but I don't know what time that's going to be. I'm going to have to end it early because I have to wake up early to make sure I'm there on time. But yeah. Santiago Space Outlaw says, way behind. Ads are ads. Opinions are opinions. Facts are facts. Ads are not opinions. Opinions are not facts. Ads are not facts. If someone doesn't say which it is, they are inauthentic. Simple. Fair enough. Fair enough. Tarsha didn't do nothing. Tarsha didn't do nothing. This is touch DNA. I'm still skeptical it's used. Her DNA would be all over her desk, so would expect it on tested item. Yeah, okay, that's fine. But what about the inner part of the knot? That to me is the little nugget that it's like, how did it get to the inner part of the knot? You want to tell me that look, maybe she took that noose when she saw it on her desk and literally used it to give herself a Mexican shower. I don't know what she did with that noose. Maybe she wanted to see if it would fit over her head. Maybe I don't know what the hell. Maybe she was nervously chewing on it because she was like, how does it get to the inner part of the knot? That's the question. That's the question. I still choke a little every time I see a garage pull string. One of those race grifters claims for Social Security disability for PTSD, probably. Yeah. 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 So she's having a rough time of it. She's definitely having a rough time of it. All right, what else do I have for you here? Alina Habba saying time to make New Jersey great again. Why is that? Donald Trump took his base lawyer, Alina Habba, who represented him in so many of his cases here in New York, saying, it is with great pleasure that I am announcing Alina Habba Esquire, who is currently serving as counselor to the president and has represented me for a long time, will be our interim U.S. attorney for the District of New Jersey, her home state, effective immediately. Alina will lead with the same diligence and conviction that has defined her career, and she'll fight tirelessly to secure a legal system that is both fair and just for the wonderful people of New Jersey. Additionally, John Giordano, who has done a terrific job as the interim U.S. attorney in New Jersey, will now be nominated as a new ambassador to Namibia. That was Namibia. Maybe a typo. Maybe I remembered wrong. I don't remember. Congratulations to Alina and John. I'll tell you this, politically, this is a smart move because the last time he didn't give his own personal lawyer a job, that person became Michael Cohen. And it would be a real tragedy if something similar happened to Alina Habba, because if she put on the kind of weight that he put on, my God, that would really be a tragic waste. So good job, Donald Trump. And also, I guess it's a wise move to take care of the people who have been taking care of you. And she certainly has been doing, from everything I've seen of her legal work and certainly her PR work when she goes down and speaks on his behalf, she's done a very, very effective job. So, and we know that Michael Cohen got really mad that he didn't get no recognition under his first term after serving as his attorney for 8 years. So there you go. Good luck, Alina. Good luck, Alina. DNA inside now is lab being a bad lab contamination. I still think guilty, but I hate touch DNA. All right. All right. All right, this next little tidbit I wanted to share with you is because this is consistent with everything I know about Canadian healthcare, and I'm continually hearing about how there's American health is so much worse than Canada, so much worse, so much worse, so much worse, and how great Canada's healthcare is. There's socialized medicine, and we all need to have more socialized medicine. And I'll tell you right now, I know of two people who died before they turned 30 in Canada because of their crappy, terrible healthcare system, where the wait lines to get an MRI are through the roof. And no one believes me. Everyone thinks I'm crazy. Well, here's another story along those lines. Canada's healthcare is horrifying. Today on How Effed is Canadian Healthcare, I need an MRI to see if I have an effing brain tumor. Go ahead, guess when it is. Go ahead, guess. It's in 2026. My MRI to see if I have brain tumor is in 2026. It's March 2025 right now. Let's hear from this woman.
To see if I have a fucking brain. Today on How Fucked is Canadian Healthcare, I need an MRI to see if I have a fucking brain tumor. And go ahead, guess when it is. Go ahead, guess. It's in 2026. 2026. My MRI to see if I have a brain tumor is in 2026.
Yeah, I'll tell you this much. By that point, she's dead. If God forbid it is a brain tumor, she's likely dead.
It's March 2025 right now. And if you thought this was bad, it's actually worse than you thought, because the appointment where we decided that I need this MRI was in December of last year. So it's not like it's 10 months from now. It's 13 months. It's a 13-month wait to see if I have a brain tumor. At first, I just thought this was a mistake because having an MRI every year is like a monitoring timeline. Like I already have an MRI every year for my spine tumor, which is why we think maybe I have a brain tumor too. So I was like, hey, they just made a mistake and scheduled this on a monitoring timeline. But no, I called and the clinic was like, yeah, the doctor actually requested that you have it earlier, but this is the next spot we have. We're seeing about 13 months for these brain and spine MRIs. Cool. Cool. Canada, where healthcare is free, but only if you can afford to wait.
I mean, she's laughing about it. Tell me that isn't a nightmare. Tell me that isn't horrible. Can you imagine, God forbid, something like that in America? Can you imagine something like that? And then they're like, well, look at the statistics. Look at the statistics. Americans live short. Yeah, we also eat fat. Like literally, like we said, oh, okay, there's a lump of lard. That's just that that we live high on the hog. Literally. Like you can get high from how much hog. You can't compare it to Spartan conditions where basically everyone there is anyone in Europe is an athlete compared to most Americans. Look at the average health. So stupid. It's like if we had socialized medicine here, oh my God. Oh my, you could slash that number. Slash that our current life expectancy by like 3.5 years. Socialized medicine. That's not to say that our current healthcare system is great. Look, I have a great answer for our education system. Healthcare is a whole other animal that I've never really discussed with you and broken down with you my plan to fix healthcare, primarily because I've yet to formulate it. So I felt like that would be a waste of time for me to like express it to you because I don't really have an answer to healthcare. But you cannot have it be great and be cost efficient. That doesn't work. It doesn't work unless it just doesn't work. When did I skip? I didn't skip chats with foul language. When did I do that? When did I skip one of your chats, Tyler? Oh, I missed it. I just missed it. Sorry. I apologize. That wasn't intentional. Are we surprised Smollett incident happened over half a decade ago? Then the NASCAR R-tard. Crap's been happening for years. I say Todd all the time. I say Todd. Todd. Then the NASCAR Todd. This is why I say. This is why I say it's a sign that. What super chat did I miss from you? Governor Katie Hobbs under investigation, karma. This is true. I thought I pulled that up. I apologize if I missed that. I apologize. I think I missed both of you and Tyler. I'm not sure how that happened. Yeah, I covered that. I'm pretty sure I covered that last week, right? She's under investigation. Pretty sure I covered that last week. That is correct. Thank you. Thank you kindly. Okay. Two more things I wanted to cover here. A little more updates. You know that Judge Boasberg? Judge Boasberg is the one who's directing Trump what he should do with his military planes and invalidating the deportations that are happening because of that are rooted in the Alien Enemies or Enemy Aliens Act. Alien Enemies? Enemy Alien? Well, you know the act I'm talking about. So Judge Boasberg, insane judge that he is, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart only because he is insane. He's chief judge of the Washington District Court. In October 2023, Julie Kelly reports, Jeb Boasberg sentenced a couple convicted of non-violent misdemeanors for January 6th to prison. The husband, Christopher Price, had just learned his cancer returned. Boasberg sentenced him to 45 days in federal prison for being non-violent, wandering around. Boasberg sent his wife, Cynthia Bellinger, to federal prison for 4 months on same misdemeanors. Boasberg says, and while I completely agree that your actions were not violent, you didn't assault anyone, you didn't destroy anyone, you didn't steal anything, you were part of that mob. And a mob is only a mob if it has numbers. If it is 3 people or 5 people or 7 or 50, they don't get anywhere because the Capitol Police is able to resist them. But you're part of the mob. He then berated the couple for not having remorse over their nonviolent participation in the protest. Quote, the conduct of you folks, what do you mean by you folks? Conduct of you folks, if you'd accepted responsibility and had been remorseful early on, you wouldn't be here. But you weren't. You haven't accepted responsibility. You never accepted responsibility. You fought everything. And even today, I don't hear remorse. You didn't bend the knee and kiss my ring. Jackass. But Boasberg is now very worried about the well-being of Venezuelan gangbangers in an El Salvador prison and defending the due process rights of those illegals. That's the same Boasberg. That's the same Boasberg. Freaking lunatic. Freaking lunatic. Gosh. You sent me a DM? Did you? But did you? But did you? But did you? Hold on, I'm pulling it up.
Most memorable time you've ever had with Trump?
The guy.
When he called me up and
That's the one
apologized
I
to me.
wanted.
For what?
This is in 2018.
Story to tell.
Oh, I
the
got
Democratic
problems
Party.
happening now. Let me pull this up. I have to take care of that. Sorry about that. You sent me a DM, and as soon as I started looking for it, everything went haywire on me. You gave me a 30-minute video. What am I supposed to do with a 30-minute video? What am I supposed to do with that? What am I supposed to do with a 30-minute video? I don't even understand what you're thinking. Ukraine strikes back, but at what cost? Ceasefire reality time is on Putin's side. I can't deal with a 30-minute video now. That's definitely not happening. 30-minute video. Seriously. And yes, I've gotten more into chess recently. That's why you see like the different ELO stuff. Okay. I'm developing my 5-minute chess game. When I get really good at that, when I get an ELO over 1500 in that, then I'm gonna work on my 3-minute chess game and then my 1-minute chess game. That's the plan. Okay, that's the plan, because there's no reason I shouldn't have like a 2000 ELO in this stuff. I should be like a natural at chess. There's certain things I'm still trying to formulate. So there you go. Has Spud Buden made an appearance since January 20th? I don't even know who Spud. You mean Biden? Is that what you meant to say? Potato Biden? Is that what you? I think that's what you mean. I don't think anyone's seen him. I don't think anyone's seen Biden. No. I don't think so. I had one more thing I wanted to share with you all. All right. No, it's not this. I moved it. There it is. An article by Margot Cleveland, which I thought was an interesting legal analysis about developments as far as all these Trump cases. We're going to do a little bit of law here for a moment. And I'm going to need to explain to you what she wrote here, because it's a little bit complicated if you're not an attorney to understand exactly what they've been doing of late, strategy that the left has been employing in order to try and continue their lawfare in trying to hinder Trump's agenda and his policies. And she does a great analysis of this, and I want you all to understand what they're doing and what strategy they're trying to employ as in order to prolong that as long as possible. There's a great article by Margot Cleveland, who I've recommended to you a couple times now at least. A group of plaintiffs asked a federal judge on Saturday to vacate the injunction he had previously entered in their favor against the Trump administration that halted the implementation of the president's directives to end DI initiatives. Let me just explain to you what this first sentence means. So a bunch of plaintiffs went to federal court and said, we don't like that Trump is engaging these DEI initiatives. Please give us a TRO and stop him from carrying out these DEI initiatives. The lefty judge says, oh, okay, here's your TRO. Trump, you can't do your stuff. You can't do these DEI initiatives. And I'm expanding this across the entire country. No DEI for you. Because these plaintiffs came in and asked me to put a pause on it. And I think it's unconstitutional, so I'm going to put a pause on it. Now, when it's in circuit court, these same plaintiffs who got that TRO are going back to the court and saying, please get rid of the TRO, get rid of the TRO, get rid of the TRO. That sounds insane. Why would they say that? Why would they ask for that? Why would anyone ask? I just came in here 3 weeks ago begging you for relief. You gave me the relief, and now I'm begging you to remove the relief that you gave me. And stop it. Get it off now. Why would they do such a thing? The plaintiff's move came after a federal appellate court stayed the injunction, signaling a likely reversal of the injunction appeal and a win for Trump. Meaning, after Trump went to the appellate court, and the appellate court said, and Trump said, hey, this judge is stopping me. Well, don't answer in my favor now, but at the very least recognize I'm probably going to win. So just the effect of that stay, that blockade, just move that aside so I can continue doing my DEI stuff until this whole thing happens. And the court said, yeah, we're going to stay it. We're going to stay that injunction. So understand this. Here's your Trump agenda. Comes along. All of a sudden, plaintiffs come in here, get this lefty judge standing in the way, blocking it. TRO, blocking it. Trump says, oh, okay, I'll go to circuit court. And when he goes to circuit court, he's like, hey, I'll go to the appellate division. So when he goes to the circuit court, he's like, hey, there's this little nasty blockade over there. Can you get rid of that so I just keep moving along? And then we'll have this whole trial going on about whether or not I'm allowed to do this. But in the meanwhile, let me do what I'm doing because I'm probably going to win. And this appellate court says, yeah, that's true. No blockade for now. Now, the order is still in effect. This order is still out there. It's still hanging out there. But we're not until the appellate division, until the circuit court decides about this TRO, it's not having any effect to stop him. So he's still going along doing what he's doing. So what are they saying? They're saying, well, let's get rid of this thing hanging out there that's not working because it's been stayed by the circuit court. Let's get rid of it altogether. That's what the plaintiffs themselves are saying. This motion represents the second effort within as many weeks by litigants to game the judicial system to avoid losing to the president on appeal. The court should refuse to play along, including in this case by denying the motion to vacate the injunction. So what happens is in order to get rid of this appeal, that they don't want it there anymore, they have to bring a motion saying, hey, please get rid of our TRO. We know you gave us this great gift, but going back to the original judge and saying, hey, judge, please get rid of it. Please get rid of it. Actually, they're going to the circuit, to the appellate court, and they're saying, get rid of it, get rid of it. Don't have it just be stayed. Just wipe it away. On Saturday, plaintiffs and National Association of Diversity Officers in Higher Education versus Trump filed a motion to vacate preliminary injunction order in federal court in Maryland. The plaintiffs in that case consisted of a National Association of Diversity Officers, an organization representing professors, a national organization of restaurant workers, mayor and city council of Baltimore. In early February, these plaintiffs had sued Trump and a slew of federal agencies challenging the executive orders the president issued to halt DEI. On February 21st, Judge Adam Abelson, a Judge Biden appointee, gave them what they asked for, gave them a preliminary injunction in favor of the plaintiffs. In that injunction, Judge Abelson held the Trump administration could not pause, freeze, impede, block, cancel, terminate any awards, contracts, or obligations, or change the terms of any current obligation based on his anti-DEI orders. So that's what Judge Abelson gave the trans folk, gave the DEI folk, gave them what they wanted. The preliminary injunction further prohibited the Trump administration from requiring any recipient of federal funds to certify and a grant or contract that does not operate any programs promoting DEI. So one of his orders was, if you want to deal with us, you have to show us that you're not dealing with DEI. So Abelson said, you can't do that. That's on hold for now. Finally, the court enjoined the Trump administration from taking any enforcement against grantees who maintain DEI programs in violation of the certification. Abelson later clarified that his preliminary injunction applied broadly beyond the named defendants, not just these people who came in here. This is national policy that Judge Abelson is setting here. Preliminary injunction binds all federal executive branches, agencies, departments, and commissions, and their heads, officers, agents, and subdivisions. Where the F he thinks he has the authority to do that when those people are not even plaintiffs in this whole thing? I don't know. Court explained in a supplemental order earlier this month. The Trump administration promptly appealed the preliminary injunction, while simultaneously asking a stay from Judge Abelson and from the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals. Abelson didn't give him the stay. But on March 14th, the Fourth Circuit granted the stay, saying, we agree with the government that has satisfied the factors for a stay under Niken v. Holder. Why are you entitled to a stay? There's a case called Niken v. Holder. And under Niken v. Holder, you meet those factors, so we're going to give you your stay. And that means this roadblock goes away. So the order is still, the preliminary injunction is still hanging out here, but it's off on the side of the road, and you can keep cruising along doing your agenda as the Trump so desires. The stay of the lower court's injunction means that Trump administration can continue to implement his anti-DEI stuff. While the Fourth Circuit didn't say so expressly, they wouldn't have given him the stay unless has made a strong showing that he has a likelihood to succeed on the merits. That's what the Fourth Circuit implicitly is saying. Because in order to get that stay on the preliminary injunction, the circuit court has to say, hey, you want to know why we're going to give a stay? Because we think Trump's going to win. Which means that now the plaintiffs know, oh my God, even if we win here, Trump's going to win. Trump's going to win. And what happens when we get a circuit decision against us? In other words, once the Fourth Circuit granted the stay, the National Association of Diversity Officers and his fellow plaintiffs knew they're going to lose this appeal. They know they're going to lose this appeal. So they don't want to have a loss, because if they have a loss, now that's affecting everyone. A legal loss is never pleasant, but there's more at stake. An adverse decision by the federal appellate court would also establish binding precedent on the lower courts in the Fourth Circuit, which includes both the Maryland court that granted the stay, and other federal courts like Virginia, West Virginia, North and South Carolina. Further, while federal law courts in other circuits and the federal appellate courts are not bound by decisions from the Fourth Circuit, it does have an effect on them. They often rely on the out of circuit or sister court precedent. So they don't want to have a Fourth Circuit case out there that sucks for them. They don't like what is happening here, especially in cases involving issues of first impression, as many of these cases against Trump are. So Saturday's motion to vacate the preliminary injunction order filed by the plaintiffs is trying to stop that. Because if they vacate the preliminary injunction, the plaintiffs are going to say, there's no injunction. The appellate court, go away, go away, go away. There's nothing to even hear about. It's gone. So they're going back to Judge Abelson and they're saying, hey, get rid of this. Otherwise, the circuit court's going to F us and tell us we lost. And we can't have a Fourth Circuit decision telling you that we lost. So because they know they're going to lose, now they're going back and they're saying, hey, let's pretend this whole thing never happened. No backsies. Well, actually, Trump is saying no backsies. The National Association of Diversity Officers and other plaintiffs they're not abandoning their claims, but they just say they're going to seek additional relief based on developments since the court entered the preliminary injunction. But here the plaintiffs posit they have a new information to present the court that was not available earlier. The Trump administration says, no backsies, screw you. We're in this court. This court knows I'm going to win, and I'm not letting you try and get out of this. Case law supports the Trump administration's position, holding that courts are divested of jurisdiction to lift preliminary injunction once an appeal has been filed. Meaning, you can go back to Abelson and ask if you go back to Abelson, the lower court judge, and you say, hey, please get rid of that preliminary injunction because we think you're going to get slammed by the Fourth Circuit. He's divested. He has no power over it anymore. Once it goes up to the circuit court, his hands are tied. And he's like, I'm stuck with this until the circuit court makes a decision. And he can't even remove it. So recognizing this fact, the plaintiffs invoke a rarely used federal procedure seeking an indicative ruling. Under this procedure, the plaintiff asked Judge Abelson to, if he concludes he lacks power to vacate the injunction, enter an indicative ruling telling the Fourth Circuit that if it were to remand the case back to district court, he would vacate the preliminary injunction. So he should write a decision saying, if they ever let it come back to me, if they ever give this case back to me, I'm going to remove the preliminary injunction. And hopefully that will sway the Fourth Circuit, who now has exclusive dominion over this preliminary injunction, to say, well, he's going to get rid of it. So let's just send it back to him and let him get rid of it. Given Judge Abelson's willingness to enter an order for the plaintiffs that bound not merely the named defendants, but every federal agency, something far beyond his authority, it would not be surprising if the Biden appointee went along with the ploy and issued an indicative ruling stating his intent to vacate the injunction. But even if he does that, the Fourth Circuit doesn't have to play along. They don't send it back to him if he signs an indicative decision. Rather, the Court of Appeals needs to reject the plaintiff's efforts to avoid an adverse decision. That is the only way these 100+ lawsuits against the Trump administration will resolve in any semblance of an order. Likewise, the D.C. Circuit should squelch the gaming with the judicial system attempted by former special counsel Hampton Dellinger in his case, because he says, hey, I'm withdrawing my claim. No. We need decisions here. He only withdrew his claim because he saw that the D.C. Circuit said, oh, we don't think Hampton's going to win here. In Dellinger's case, he challenged the president's firing of him as a special counsel. The district court ordered Dellinger reinstated and also entered a preliminary injunction requiring others in the Trump administration to continue to treat him as special counsel. The Trump administration appealed to the D.C. Circuit, and he obtained a stay, meaning that Dellinger was kicked out of there. And in that case, the D.C. Circuit issued its opinion explaining the basis of the stay. Dellinger then asked, saying, hey, we think he's going to lose. Dellinger then asked D.C. Circuit to vacate its opinion, filing a motion to dismiss, saying, hey, it's all moot now. It's all moot because I'm not going after this anymore. I give up. D.C. Circuit Court has yet to rule on Dellinger's motion to dismiss, but the Trump administration has properly pointed out that there's no basis to dismiss the appeal because Dellinger did not dismiss his lawsuit. There are clear procedural rules that govern here how to voluntarily dismiss a case, and that process takes place in the lower court, not by a motion in the appellate court saying, in essence, I don't want to litigate. I don't want to litigate anymore. So it's not really clear why the D.C. Circuit Court hasn't already denied Dellinger and said, you don't have a right to pull this away from us anymore, with a note reprimanding his attorneys to follow the controlling procedures for dismissing a case. In failing to immediately nix Dellinger's efforts to manipulate the court, we're now seeing other litigants, such as those in the Maryland case, challenging challenging termination of DEI initiatives, try similar attacks. And that's what they're going to do every time they see they're going to lose. When there's a stay, when they get a preliminary injunction and Trump gets a stay, they're going to try and kill the case because they're afraid of getting bad decisions. And that's something that circuit court should never allow to happen. Now, there's factors that weigh in favor politically. Legally, they never should. Politically, there are reasons why they would get rid of it. They would grant that request, and there are reasons they would not. Let me explain that to you. You're sitting in the Fourth Circuit. You're sitting in the D.C. Circuit. You recognize the law is so strongly on Trump's side, even though you hate the guy. You recognize it so strongly on his side that he has a likelihood of success. So now he's applying for a stay on there's a preliminary injunction that the lower court issued. He's saying, stay that. You recognize you have to stay it, so you do. Now the plaintiff comes to you and says, get rid of my case, get rid of my case. It's all over. I don't want to fight anymore. Get rid of my case, get rid of my case. Don't issue a decision. Should they say it's moot or should they go forward? Well, legally, they're supposed to go forward. Politically, they might hate Trump and say, we don't want to give a decision here. We're going to avoid giving a decision. We're not going to give a decision. That's the one way of looking at it. On the other hand, judges like weighing in on cases of first impression. They like doing that. It's how they make a name for themselves. And most of these people are much less about the agenda or I love him, I hate him. Much more about, I want to see my name doing something important. I'm building my legacy for my future. So in that sense, because these cases have a certain significance, it's possible that even if they don't really care for Trump very much, they might say to themselves, I'm not letting this case go. I'm not supposed to let this case go. And I already showed that I tipped my hand where I'm at, so everyone knows where I stand on this whole thing. And I kind of build my legacy a little bit by having my name attached to this case. So I think some of them may grant a plaintiff's request to withdraw, but not all of them will. Not all of them will. Some of them, even the ones on the left, it's like you're sort of weighing how deeply I'm on the left / hating Trump versus my own self-interest that I kind of benefit to like having a decision weigh in here. Kind of gives me more significance. So I think most of them lean towards their own self-interest. Or You could say most of them are good judges, and good judge wouldn't dismiss it. Your call. You can decide. Drop a comment below. Let me know what you think. What do you think they're going to do? I think he died 3 years ago. They do not want a final order from the appellate courts because then it would provide precedent and make it hard to bring future cases. Precisely right, Tyler. That's what I was trying to walk everyone through. That's what I want to walk everyone through. You guys were so nice to me tonight, and I really mean that sincerely. I'm going to give you a couple of funny things I found. Funny things I found. Just because I like y'all. Just because I like y'all. If I can find it. If I can find it, then I'm not sure I can. I think I found it. That's long. Nope. Nope. Yeah, that wasn't so funny. All right, we start with something random. We're going to close out with something random. We started with random, and we're going to finish with random. That's right. Short clip here. Started random and finished random. Here we go. I almost opened the show with this. This is when I was like, this is just weird enough to start the show with this. Imagine you break into this guy's house and you're greeted by this guy. This guy is a legend. I'm warning you now, you may be singing this song for like the next day. You might be singing this song for the next day. You've never heard this song before. You never have, but you might be singing it for the next day. That's my warning. The question needs to be challenged and asked, does the power belong to the presidency or the judges? Remember, we the people voted for the president. Amen. Amen. Hear, hear. 100%. Say that louder for the folks in the back who didn't hear it. Does the power belong to the president or the judges? Remember, we the people voted for the president. Indeed. Reminds me of Hunter Biden's case against Ziegler. He desperately wants to be dismissed now because he can't afford it while vacationing in Africa. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Sometimes you start a mess you don't want it to finish. All right. This is what I'm closing out with. I'm going to remind you all, lab meat is they, them. It's definitely not for you. It's definitely not for you. And don't eat some bugs. Don't eat some bugs. Please like, share, comment. Do all that good stuff. Like, share, comment, algorithm. Do it now. Do it now before we watch this last video. Here we go.
Oh my God, I hope no one tries to attack a little old lady.
But I'm not a little old lady. I'm Nunchuck Tyler. Take this. Yeah.
That's Nunchuck Tyler. Take this.
Take this. Nunchuck Tyler is here to save the day with all of his nunchucks of fury. Nunchuck Tyler is using his nunchucks, gonna take you out like every day.
Like every day.
Nunchuck Tyler is doing his nunchucks, is doing his nunchucks like every day. Woo! How many nunchucks does he have?
I don't even know. So many.
Oh, high five, yeah! Woo! Yeah!
Oh no.
Yeah!
There's another one.
Yeah! Nah.
Oh my God, I hope no one tries to.
Nunchuck Tyler is doing his nunchucks. He's here to save the day. Nunchuck Tyler. Nunchuck Tyler. Nunchuck Tyler. Try it. You'll never get it. That's you. That's you. That's my show. I'm sticking to it. I thank you all for joining me. God willing, I'll be back here tomorrow evening. Until then, take care of yourselves. Have a good night. And as always, Godspeed. No. Dominion of Dark says, Joe, since you'll not be around Thursday, you're not like links in your chat. Tell people to come to my channel. Watch the Mofo No Show Joe show on Thursday starting 9 p.m. That's Dominion After Dark. Make sure you guys are there. Make sure you're there. Be there. Be square. Good night, Godspeed. We did that already. Good night.